I love this.
First time for everything, no?
Yeah.
Do you mind it though? Did you like get invites or did you just like not have the opportunity?
Bit of both. I've actually it's been on my vision.
To go on a podcast?
Yeah. And it's funny that it's been on my vision and you just reach out. I thought about it and then you just reach out.
How long has it been on your vision for?
Not long. So recently. So I hadn't gotten into it. Because I was just focused on building something first. I was focused on building something, finding myself, working on my craft. Then I could talk about that, and really have a conversation. Yeah.
What is your craft, Dina?
My craft is painting, my first love, really, as an artist. I am a creative, so I do love to write. I love to do a lot of, creative things. Yeah. But my first love would have to be painting. So I turned that into a big scale thing.
All right. So today we have Dina Gris or Dina Gris. How do you say
Dina
it?
Gris.
Okay. She's a muralist. She splashes her colors all over Melbourne. That's what I think about it.
Pretty much.
Get 10 seconds to introduce yourself. Starts now. Go.
Okay. Hello. I'm Dina and I am a muralist and I paint colors around Melbourne, changing the scene of the city. I made it.
No, that's good enough.
I made it.
Is that how you depict yourself? 10 seconds?
11 seconds.
11 seconds. No, that's fair enough.
I feel like you can't describe a person fully in 11 seconds, but I think it's a good start.
Yeah, well, think about it. Mentally, you mentioned out of all the things, the muralist, because you do a lot of other things. You do graphic design.
I do.
You do
But
painting.
it all comes under muralist. When I think about muralist, I don't think just about the painting aspect. I think of being an artist is being a business person. Being an artist is being a problem solver. It's a whole identity. It's not just about the painting.
What do you mean problem solver? What problems?
Well, you come up with solutions for. So I don't just design a pretty picture. I design, visuals in mind of how I can actually help a business or a restaurant, for example, attract more traffic to their business. Or, depending on if they want to uplift or create a different experience or an illusion, or all of that is problem solving. They come with something. You offer a service. You're not just selling something. You're actually offering a service for them.
Do you have to share the same vision with them, or it depends on whatever they want?
Okay. So this one is tricky when you're getting started, because when you're building your portfolio, a lot of artists just, they want the projects.
So they do whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then when you start actually building a name for yourself, then you can become a bit selective and you're like, okay, I'm not going to work with this one because I don't think we'll get along. I think it serves you better if you are selective, because you can burn out your passion if you're not careful and you're working with people that that you're not on the same page with. But that's an interesting one.
No, that's definitely, because I think about it, now you're talking about it, now I'm relating it back to the podcast. Because if I sit down and talk to people that I don't really want to talk to, then I'm not really having fun with what I'm doing, no?
It's not really fulfilling your passion anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Especially if the conversation is dead, and some people, they don't drive it anywhere.
No.
And so it's a struggle. I get it. There's a lot of interesting people out there, and there's a lot of interesting stories.
For sure.
But you also need someone that can relate those stories.
100%, yeah.
But with your story, it's a pretty big one. You're not born here. You're born in the States.
No,
because I was eavesdropping while you were having.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I am born in the States. Small little place, Utah. Not like the New York scene or anything like that.
So you're Utah?
Utah, yeah. Yeah.
That's what they call it.
You ever been?
No, but I just hear it. I watch NBA.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we went to Egypt from that. And I was pretty much raised in Melbourne. I did have, my starting childhood years, a few of them in Egypt, which I don't remember much of. And then basically started my life here. Yeah, my family decided to start our life here in Australia.
Well, how old were you when you left the States?
I was about 2 or 3.
Oh yeah.
And then I was about 8 when I got to Melbourne from Egypt.
Yeah. Also, you didn't really get to experience the States that much.
No, but not yet.
Not yet.
But it's definitely, it's on the bucket list of where we want to kind of go. I would love to do murals in the States.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What would you want to do? Because I've seen the Snoop Dogg one.
That's very New York style.
It is.
The whole vision for this particular piece was like bring like New York to Melbourne.
It suits the restaurant too.
Yeah. It was that vibe.
Yeah.
Actually, Snoop was touring like recently.
Yeah.
We were like, oh.
Did you get to see it?
No, unfortunately, but wouldn't that be cool?
It would be.
Hopefully I can get to the States and get him to see some murals.
Yeah, I don't know about finding Snoop in the States, man. No one can find that guy. Yeah. He's almost always on Instagram going live playing basketball or smoking weed. It's either this or that.
I mean, yeah, he's passionate.
Yeah, true. So you came here when you were 8, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you went straight to school?
I did, yeah.
And that's why you're now a Uni Melbourne graduate?
Yes, officially as of last year.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
Was it a struggle studying in Melbourne Uni?
No. My struggle was just finding my path. It wasn't like necessarily the studying or uni or like the sleepless nights of exams or any of those things we can relate to.
You had those too?
Everybody.
I don't.
Really?
I didn't put that much effort.
You're just that good.
No, I just didn't put that much effort in.
Well, I mean, Melbourne is tough on its students. You know, they're trying to like keep up that, you know, that prestige, that name.
So it is true.
At the cost of your mental health.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I think, yeah, you know, like the sleepless nights and exams and things like that. That's pretty normal. What I struggled with most was, finding myself. I got into a lot of different careers that weren't really me and that were inspired by other people or like other people's vision for me. But my main struggle was, finding like being true to myself.
Well, how did you manage to find it though?
It's not so much a finding, it's more of a submitting to my calling. So I was very resistant. Like I did everything else but what I felt like I wanted to do. I did every other option until I felt like, well, I can't live without trying my hand at what I really want.
Yeah. Do you feel like part of that was to cater for other people's expectations of you?
Oh, yeah.
It's mainly that, yeah.
I mean, it's true. I think everybody goes through something of that kind in their life. I think everybody, whether it depends on, you know, it doesn't even matter like where you come from or culture, or I feel like there is a certain standard of expectation. There is a point in your life where you choose, am I going to do this for me? Or am I going to, because you don't want to let people in your community down or your family down, but you also don't want to let yourself down. Yeah. All right. At the end of the day, like you are the one who's stuck with you for the rest of your life.
That's true.
No one else is.
Yeah. I remember someone telling me that when I was doing biomedical science. Well, someone was me, actually.
Right.
Yeah, because my parents wanted me to do something prestigious, right? And I had no interest in biomedical science.
Your parents are from?
Iraq.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, now that you know, maybe cultural background does have something to do with it. Because I see it a lot with Asians and not just
Middle East.
Yeah, not that just that part of Asia. A lot of Middle Eastern, Asian parents, they're strict when it comes to education. And they
come from a good place.
They do come from a good place.
They have struggled their entire lives to provide a better tomorrow for their children.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense.
Yeah. But I think the Arab world has come a long way for embracing creatives from like, say, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think there's a little bit, we're kind of getting it a little bit, slowly.
They're getting appreciated more.
Yeah.
They're getting appreciated more, especially with artists, musicians, so...
Actors, definitely.
Say, for example, Hussein al-Jismi. Hussein al-Jismi used to get bullied back in the day. He was obese. He was talented. Like, it's Hussein Jismi. Like, who doesn't like him? Who doesn't listen to him? Well, a lot of people used to like just bully him. But now, if you get another Hussein Jismi who's like a obese artist, people are likely to appreciate him for his voice more. And it's very good. He
paved the way.
He did pave the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. But he's so beautiful. He's got such a elegant voice.
Yeah.
I was listening to him last night. I cried myself to bed, but it's beautiful.
You know what? For good reason.
Obviously, man.
Yeah. It's true.
No, but that is very true.
Why did you feel like you were restricted or like not authentic to yourself?
How so? What do you mean?
Did you feel like you were doing what you were supposed to be doing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because, no, I didn't feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. Because when I came here, I told you, I came in 2017.
Yeah.
So I was, 16, 17, 18, something like that. And when I came, my first thing on my mind was, how do I help my family out? How do I bring money to my family? And I put all my interests aside. I put all of my personal feelings aside. So how do I get the money fast? And how do I give back to my parents fast? And they didn't have that mindset. They didn't tell me, go ahead and bring us money. They didn't have anything to
they didn't have the expectations.
They didn't have that expectation.
But you wanted to.
I wanted it. They wanted me to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And obviously all parents or most parents want their parents to succeed. So they were like, go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever you do, just be successful at it. I looked around. I had some advices from my cousins and whatnot. The highest achieving cousin in my family did biomedical science. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to top it off. I'm going to do the exact same thing.
We do that a lot.
I did it, right? And my parents were proud for, a couple of years until they saw me being depressed.
A hot minute, yeah.
And I told them, I was like, I'm switching. And they're like, 2 years into the degree. And I said, yeah, 2 years into the degree. 1 more year and I graduate. But I would sacrifice that year in favor of not doing 30 more years of this same suffrage.
Right.
I don't care. I'll let go of these 3 years. I'll let go of all the money that I paid as long as I don't get to do the same thing that's making me feel miserable for 30 years. And so I switched. And
what did you switch to?
Psychology.
I love
psychology. I've been doing it for 2 years. I don't know if I've been doing it well, but I've been doing it. I did it because I like it. Are
you enjoying it?
Yeah.
So you're doing it well?
I'm doing it, yeah.
That's the standard. Yeah.
Yeah, no. That's such an artist thing to do. It's such an artist thing to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah, because what's your standard of doing it well if you're hating what you're doing? Is that doing it well? Or are you just like good on paper? Is that enough?
No, I think some people, they do things they don't like well. They do it well. They're good at it. Their hearts is not in it. They still do it.
But wouldn't you do something exceptionally if your heart is in it?
No.
Okay.
Well and exceptional are different.
They could collide.
They do.
There is a correlation. But I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, look at it.
You could be naturally good at something that you don't care for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a basketball player. He's Serbian. This guy does nothing. He wants to do nothing but ride horses and, lay down with his family in Serbia. He won a championship in 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. So he's exceptionally good at it, but he doesn't care about it. Like, he did it and it just happened.
Okay.
It's rare. Not a lot of people can pull that off. Because to be dedicated to a thing you don't care about that much is miserable.
It's tough.
It's miserable and it's tough.
And there's no longevity. You could be dedicated for, 10 years, and that's extremely and then what? The rest of your life. Could you do something you're miserable at for the rest of your life?
No, absolutely not.
I don't know. Maybe some people could. For me, I never could.
You could do it, but
it's just the mental toll.
Yeah. And you see it in people. We've got places that we go to clean and they're 9-to-5 jobs. And the people over there, they're pretty much mentally, physically, spiritually disconnected. They're dead. They do nothing but sit in front of the computer for 8-9 hours, do jobs they don't really care about, and lead lives that don't really have meaning to them. And it's tough. And I know because the ashtrays are full every time I go to clean it. It's just cigarettes upon cigarettes upon cigarettes, and they just smoke the pain away pretty much. And it's sad, it's tough. And it's a question of, can you talk these people out of that mindset or not? So for you as an artist, can you do that? Can you communicate such an idea?
I think there is only so much, though. I think you can definitely inspire people. I think you can. There's nothing worse than a person feeling alone in their situation or just stuck and nobody else understands. So I think you can come from a place of understanding and you can inspire people and show them like, look, I was in your situation, or I am, and this is what I'm trying to do to lift out. You can make them feel seen and heard. The driver of them changing their lives, though, has to come from them. They really have to be convinced, like, I'm not happy. I want to change my life. I need to do this. There is a lot of, like, I want to stay empathetic as well because, you know, we're talking from, you know, perspective of two people that we don't necessarily have as much responsibility right now, like a family or like kids, or there's a lot of factors that like people are like, you know, it's hard. I can't just do what I want because I have to put food on the table. You know, I have to have this job, even if I don't care about it. It's time consuming to build something you care about. Definitely possible, but the person needs to believe that themselves. And you can be an inspiration, but they have to be the driver.
Well, I think you mentioned something about being happy. Do you think these people want to be happy or just not miserable?
Well, that's the thing, right? Some people are happy to just be not miserable, whereas some people want to be actually thriving. Like they want more meaning in their life. Some people, I've had this conversation actually before with a friend, and I was like, you know, why do you reckon like people just don't start their own thing? And they're like, it's so much work to actually start your own business and to do something different. I remember someone said, you know, I would rather, I'm happy with the 9 to 5, somebody else, you know, just working for somebody else, clocking out, having my schedule.
I don't believe that.
And I don't actually believe that they are necessarily happy with that. They're comfortable.
Yeah, they're comfortable
with that.
Yes.
That's the word.
Yeah, but people get mixed up.
They do. It's very easy. Yeah.
Conformity into happiness.
Yeah.
And it's just contentness.
Yeah.
And then you lead a life that's 30, 40 years of contentness. And then you look back at it and you grow cynical, and bitter. And you blame everyone for really you not going after it. It's kind of terrible.
Another thing is fear, I think, as well.
Fear of what exactly?
Fear of failure. Fear of success is a thing.
How so?
People are afraid to succeed because then there's more expectations of them. Then they can feel like, do I deserve this? They're like imposter syndrome, you know, like, oh my gosh, like, could I really be doing this? Like, can I keep this up? There's more expectation when you succeed at something. There is more work. There is more discipline. Like, there's definitely more happiness, but your life gets tougher. Like, you need to deal with more. There is more responsibility in it. You have to keep taking accountability for your success.
Have you ever had imposter syndrome at any point?
All the time. I have imposter. Hello, my name is Dina and I have imposter syndrome all the time.
How do you deal with it? Because I don't know how to deal with it.
I have to remind myself of everything that I have done or I'm doing, that I'm always like upskilling to provide the service that I do. So for example, for murals, I have to remind myself that no, I've done all the work. I have all of like the study to back it up. I've spent the thousands of hours, you know, practicing my craft. I've done, you know, all the business courses. I have to remind myself that there is actually records of me doing things that qualify me to do what I'm doing. Like, I'm not an imposter. I have done the work.
Yeah.
I continue to do it.
But I think for a weak mind, it can destroy. Because if you don't train yourself to appreciate yourself, I think you can go down a very, very dark hole and it can swallow you up. And that's what happens when people come up and they crumble. And so it's like a peak. So they hit their peak. Instead of going up, they just go smashing down.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it with artists. You see it with everywhere pretty much.
Someone goes viral and then that's it.
They just dip.
You don't hear
That's
from
it.
them.
Yeah.
They don't use that virality or anything.
And people talk smack about them, but actually what they need is probably a little bit more support.
Yeah.
From people around them, from people, well, I don't think strangers are going to give you support because when you come up newly to the media, if people don't really know you that much, they're more likely to hate on your work rather than encourage your work, especially if you're doing something controversial. Like, you know, I know it happens in sports all the time. Like you see a football player, for example, he plays well and then he retires. People don't really talk about him as much, and then he retires and people go, oh, well, he was great at the time, but it's too late now, right? Where was your, encouragement back then? But most importantly, you need that support from yourself.
Two schools of thoughts on this. You definitely need support from yourself, but sometimes you're just, especially like starting out, sometimes you feel a little bit doubtful about your process. And so I think you definitely need a support system from someone you can count on or a group of people, a network. That doesn't necessarily have to be family. It could be friends, just somebody that you trust, hopefully family, and maybe people trying to come up and do the same thing that you're doing in the industry. But I also think strangers could be a support system. Like sometimes strangers support you more than your own friends.
That's true.
I don't know if you've noticed, but on social media, especially like in the art world, some people like in your family or like friend circles, they might know that you're doing a lot and they don't say anything about it. But like strangers online, they're like, oh my gosh, you should be famous. Let's get this video to blow up. Yeah. And I'm like, there are people out there that are, willing to support your craft. Yeah.
What is the moment you felt the most alone?
Coming with the good stuff. I think I felt alone when I was trying to do something different with my life. Like when I was getting into a creative career, I think that's when I hit a point of like, it was hard, like finding, maybe I thought, some people wouldn't understand, or, you get the questions like, okay, so like, why aren't you a doctor? Or like, why don't you get into engineering? Or why don't you get into like all of those like traditional roles? And I was like, so I feel really alone in this because I don't know how I can navigate this thing that I want to do versus this thing that I'm expected to do. So, yeah.
How did you deal with it?
I, found a support system. And two, I just didn't want to be miserable my whole life. I just couldn't do with the what if that was ringing back in my head like all the time. What if you had done this? What would have happened? Like what do you have to lose? You have everything to gain.
Yeah, the 80-year-old deathbed.
I mean, yeah, these are important. I think everybody in life, these are really important questions that you'll hit a point where you have to confront yourself with them.
Yeah. No, I think probably one of my biggest fears as well is being a what if.
What if person?
Yeah, what if person.
We don't want to have any regrets on that deathbed.
No. Yeah. Especially when you have big dreams.
Yeah.
Because like it haunts you and it kills you. And you die way earlier than you should.
You continue living like you're alive. Yeah. But are you alive or are you existing?
Yeah, so you're just a walking body pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's scary. It's scary. And
is that your worst fear?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Being a what if person. Because I probably wouldn't forgive myself if I let myself slip into that direction with everything that I have planned out for my life, with everything that I preach to my friends, my people, my family, myself.
Right.
I would be a hypocrite. I would be a walking hypocrite with no real meaning.
Mm.
Right? I would just be a big ball of cynicism. And I'd be 70, 80-year-old walking around the house turning off the lights, pretty much. Yeah, that's probably my biggest fear, honestly.
Mm.
And it's this fear that fuels my will to do these things. And so it doesn't really have to be negative all the time. And so you could take this fear and use it for your favor. And it's like, okay, so if you don't wake up today on time, you're going to miss coming to the podcast on time, coming to the episode on time, which means you're probably going to get your guest bothered, annoyed. Okay, you're probably not going to shoot the podcast on time. No shooting the podcast on time, that means the episode is going to be messy. Episode messy, no good product. No good product, that means, you know, you failed. Failing, bad.
So what's the failure for you? Is it that you don't get your message across to someone who needs to hear it? Or is it that you don't accomplish something on your goals? What's the failure for you? What does that look like?
I think there's two types of failures. There's a micro failure and
A macro?
a macro. Macro is bigger,
Macro is a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've heard about it,
Yeah.
but since year 10.
What does that look like?
Micro failure.
Yeah.
For me, micro failure is the good failure.
Okay.
It's a small hiccup. It's a small stumble. It's a small, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. That's a micro failure.
Oops.
Oopsie, yeah. And I think that with a micro failure, enough micro failures and you can make one successful move. It's like you add it up, and then negatives, and then you get one positive because you can learn from your failures. You can learn from your mistakes. And if you don't use it, that's the biggest failure. That's the bigger failure. So the big failure is a combination of micro failures not being utilized as they should be utilized. And so with this project right now, I would say not doing it is a failure for me. Not getting the message out there, because we get the message out there. We try to get the message out there.
So would you say, like, if you don't have failures, you're not going to succeed?
No way. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. And I think you probably know that more than anyone else. Yeah. Because, you know, as an artist,
you have to screw up.
Yeah, you have to screw up. Yeah. And I know from personal experience, because I did used to paint when I was like 7 and 8.
You should have led with that.
No, but that's the thing. I used to paint and then it was miserable and I was like, screw it, not for me.
Right. You didn't trust the process. You stopped that failure. I
stopped that failure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe if I didn't stop, I could have had a different pathway. And it's not only that, it's also my...
you could have been sitting on my side.
I could have been sitting... Yeah, you could have been sitting here. See? I'll flip the cameras around, no worries. I didn't have that encouragement either, because when I was a kid, and I still remember the same feeling right now. I look at a drawing and I go, this is terrible. And I know this is terrible. But I didn't have anyone around me that goes, hey, no, it's all right.
But you can get better.
You can get better.
Yeah.
No, it was more like, because we used to have art class in back in primary school.
Right.
That was in Iraq. I'm actually getting very emotional talking about this. They used to grade us, right? So you give you a paper and they give you like a score out of 10. And when I used to get my scores, they used to be like frustrating, like 2, 3, 4. And I used to look at it and I go, oh, well, this is miserable, right? I don't know if it's fair or if it's just treating a child wrong. Because at the end of the day, I was a child. So if you're in my position, if you're in the teacher's position and you get, say, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and they give you a drawing and you know it's not good, what would you do? Would you grade it appropriately? So give him like a 3, 4, 5, or give him an encouraging score?
See, I believe in constructive criticism, which throws out the whole number system. Because you're just giving me a number, it doesn't tell me anything about how to improve, about where to go from here. It just tells me this sucks. And that's not helpful to anyone. So I would throw out the whole number. I would comment, like I'd be like, I like the way you did this. If you're aiming to get it to be like that, this is what 1, 2, and 3 that you can do. You can try this. You can experiment with that. That's how I would treat it. But a number of like, oh, this is a 2. Okay, what do I do with that, sir? Yeah. Like, you know, it doesn't help anybody.
No, that's true.
So I also don't believe in telling a kid like you're terrible at this, because I think you can get better on, you know, and it's also a step further of like, we tell a kid that you're not smart if they score poorly, but that's like completely taking out all of their other measures of intelligence. They could just not be good at that or not stimulated at something, but they could actually be very smart. And most of the cases, that's the case. Yeah. But we just discourage them from the get-go. And then they just grow up thinking, well, I'm not even going to try. And that's where we get the fear of trying from. Or like the fear of failing. It's like, no, I don't want to be humiliated. Yeah. I think it starts at a very early age, actually. Yeah. I think it's critical. Yeah. Like, yeah. I don't remember much. Like, because, you know, your childhood, you don't remember it as vividly. But I think all of the, like, psychology screw-ups, that's when they happen. So. No, definitely. Yeah. I think embarrassment is magnified as you grow older. Because if you think about it like this, if you don't think of embarrassment as a blocking factor, imagine all the things that you could do. Right. If you don't think about judgment from people, imagine all the ventures you can go out and try. Kill the ego. Exactly. Exactly. And someone was telling me the other day when I was working on video, I was editing a video and I finished it and I pulled it out and I was sitting with my friends after and I was like, oh, I don't really like it. And, you know, like I got the feedback. All the feedback was positive. I did not get a single person that said, I didn't like the video. But you were scared. I didn't like it. Yeah. Exactly. Because I thought that, oh, maybe I could have done it better here. I could have done it better there. I could have fixed this. I could have fixed the lighting here. Yeah. And my friend, he said something I'm never going to forget. He said, you should accept feeling embarrassed. Right. Because if you don't feel embarrassed by the product you put out, you probably waited too much. Right. You probably waited too long. Yeah. So if you don't feel even a little bit embarrassed by your product, you probably waited too long. Yeah. You probably won't even put anything out at this point. Maybe not. Because like if you're like, oh, I can always do better, you can always do better, but you're not going to start. Yeah. And it got to a point where I was obsessive about it. And imagine knows, like my friends would call me and they're like, we want to go out. And I go, no, that's not going to happen. I've got this video to do. And I kept going for weeks and weeks. I didn't ask for help. I was in my room just trying to perfect this product. And even when we went out, I had my laptop on me. Right. I was trying to fix it and export it, right? So this is perfectionist to perfectionist. I understand the struggle so bad. Like, it's so bad. Yeah. It's so bad. I still struggle with it. It's not like a thing that I've overcome. I still struggle with it. But how do you deal with it? Because you're an artist. If I was an artist and if I was a perfectionist as well. We have to finish the project. Drop the brush. Oh, that's just drop the brush. For problem. Because like if you get one line mistaken, then you're going to obsess about it. Yeah. How do you deal with it? And you know what? There is always a detail that I could add. Yeah. Like, let me just put that hair strand. Like, I have to put the brush down. You do? I give myself a deadline. After that, you can't. So you better get it to a point where you're happy enough with it to call it done because you can't, you can't. That's not to say that I compromise any of the detail or anything. I actually overdo it. Oh, yeah. But it's just that you could always keep going. A painting is like never finished. And even with content and stuff like that, same thing. Like I'm like, oh, I don't like that video. I completely relate. Like, I don't know. Is this too corny? Yeah. Like, is this inspiring or corny? Yeah. Like, I don't know, you know. And like, you're too embarrassed to share it with like someone to see what they think. You're like, you know what? I'm just not going to post it. Yeah. And that's how you end up inactive on social media. That's how you end up actually being a what if person. But you need to be active. You need to be, even if what you're posting at the beginning is crap. Yeah. It'll get better and then you'll reach the people that you're actually supposed to reach. Otherwise, you're not reaching nobody. Yeah. That's how I get over it. I'm like, get over yourself and post the post. Like, otherwise you won't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, there is tools that do help. And so if you're not
What
using...
do you think?
What do I think about not posting?
What do you think about when you get in your head about it? What do you do to post? And
I just put it out there.
yeah.
It's like sending a risky text, right?
You're like, whoop,
Just,
it's sent.
that's it. It's out. Yeah. And I don't want to see it till tomorrow.
Yeah.
But then when you get the feedback, it's always...
It's usually better than you think.
Yeah, it's always
So
better.
far.
Yeah, so far, exactly. Like whenever I put a product out and I get the people to rate it, even with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like I did a couple dummy episodes before I released, and I sent it to people, and I got to see their reactions. And my thoughts were, oh, it went horrible. And the people that I sent to, I was like, it's better than you think. It's better. It's actually, there's actually something there.
Yeah.
And you have to use that feedback to build on what you're going to produce next.
Yeah.
You almost always.
Yeah.
Even with this podcast, like there's a few elements right here that I haven't put in the last episode. And this podcast we finish, I'm going to, see what I did wrong, what I did right, and,
build on that
for the next one. And then you move on and so forward, because you can't just settle for what you have right now. You just can't, because if you do, you're going to get taken over, and you don't want to be taken over if you want to be the best at what you do. And you have to be the best at what you do, because otherwise, why the hell are you doing it?
Always upskilling. Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't upskill without the crappy foundation.
No.
Like there just needs to be something to build on. And if there is nothing being put out there, so what are you building on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very rigid.
You need the first brick.
You do.
Yeah. It might be a little bit wonky. It's not like the other cool looking bricks. But it's something to start the house. Like, yeah.
What was your first brick?
My first brick was to actually post my work on social media. It was actually as basic as that, because like when you paint original concepts or like things that are like personal to you, you're like, oh, are people going to take it? Like, oh, this painting is about like a tough time. Are people going to like, what are they going to say? Yeah. People going to think a certain way of you?
Yeah.
Or are they going to judge your technique? Like, you're not always the best. Like when you start out, you're not the best artist, like, or the best anything. You have to put something out there that's amateur.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest fear. That was my first step. Just posting my art. In terms of business, my first step was actually advertising as a business. That was another thing. I didn't want to feel like spammy or like people in my community be like, oh my gosh, she's put everything is business, everything like it's business post. And it's not, that was in my head, really. Because I talk to people about it and they're like, if I was doing what you're doing, I'd be posting about it every day. Like every hour. Like there's nothing. And I didn't want to feel like I was just flooding people's feeds with just like my stuff.
Yeah.
But they're like the people that really want your stuff and that need what you do, this is what they'll see.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. So these are my stepping. Yeah.
But I feel like you didn't want to become an overkill, didn't you?
I didn't want to.
Like overdo it.
Overdo it. I feel like it's usually in your head when you think you're overdoing it.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're taking up too much space.
Yes.
But I think it's actually good to take up space.
It's not that bad, that's what I was going to say, because...
You need a voice.
Yeah. Especially with like social media today, with the algorithm that, say for example, Instagram works. If you follow Snoop Dogg, for example, he posts like so much. Yeah. He puts out like 20 posts a day or something. Yeah. Like, I don't understand
And no one even realizes though.
No.
Because you're not going to get every post in your feed. There's only 10% of people that actually see what you post every time you post.
Yeah.
A lot of people miss it. So the more you post, it's actually better because first of all, not everybody will see it. And then people are going to be seeing different posts.
And then you have your dedicated audience.
Yeah.
If they're there, they're going to see pretty much every post.
That one person that's the first like on the OG, I will remember that one person when my account blows up. That one that's like just 2 seconds after they get the ball rolling.
No, you want those people. You want those people.
Yeah.
You definitely do. And for me, I know exactly who follows this podcast. I know exactly who's interested. I know exactly who's not interested. And the people that are interested, they're the ones that motivate me to also do better for them. Because I know that I've got my audience. I haven't released a single episode yet. Well, by the time this releases, it's already out there, right?
Yes.
But so far today, as if 21st of June, I haven't released a single one. And
when did you start the podcast?
Recording?
Yeah, first episode.
Feb.
Okay. It's
Feb.
fresh.
It is very fresh.
I'm
Actually,
very excited.
not even Feb.
Maybe
late March.
Yeah.
Late March.
Yeah.
Late March is when I started actually like recording, because I did the dummies in Feb.
And I'm sure you had the concept for a very long time before that.
More than 300 days.
Yeah.
Or 400, something.
Oh, no,
like
I
that.
believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
It's because I needed to have that.
Yeah.
I needed to have that 1 year of sitting with the idea.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just sitting with the idea. It was, how do I bring it to life?
Right.
I needed that year to know if this is truly what I want, because I wasn't going to do it half-assed. I'm not going to sit there and go release a podcast and do it for a couple of months, and then it dies in the hype, and that's it. That's it. It's just a podcast that happened for a few, weeks, days, months, and
It's not a
gone.
trend.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
not a trend.
Yeah.
And so I needed that 300 days. And when I saw myself banging on every wall, on every door, on every person, texting here, there, to try to get this thing going, I knew that this is what I needed to do. I knew for sure that this is not here
You're passionate about
for
it.
a short time. This is here to stay.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it flops. And when it comes to that time, I'll have to admit it. I'll have to admit that this project didn't work. But for me, I'll do whatever I can to make it work. And if it doesn't work, I need to be mature enough to admit that it doesn't work, just like any other business. And I'm not going to let it do that. But guess what? If it doesn't work, there's always something else.
That's right. It's not the end of the
It's
journey.
not the end of the journey. It's just...
Because what are you trying to do with, what's the main goal for this podcast?
So the podcast, its name, Solif, Arabic and English. We wanted to target a specific demographic, people like you, to be our guests, but also our listeners. So it's
the guests and the listeners are the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not an alienated podcast where you can just listen to it and go, man, I wish if I can get an invite or something.
Right.
I literally have a request form. If you have a story, if you have something to share, if you've done something, you can just send us a request form, and then we'll look at it, and you're more than welcome to come and share your story.
That's great.
Because everyone can share a story. Everyone has a story. You go down to the streets, you go down to the shopping center, you talk to someone, they have a story. People are far more interesting than you think. And
I don't doubt.
oh, yeah. Just ask them and you'll see. Just ask them and
There's
you'll see.
always more than what meets the eye.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's always so much depth.
There's a lot more. Even from the most boring people, if you want to label them as that.
Quote unquote.
Boring.
Yeah.
Like, you can get so much content, so much life out of them.
Yeah.
Because they're a living human. One living human has so much stories to tell.
It's a miracle to be alive.
Exactly.
Do you know the stats of, like, out of the possibilities of someone to be born?
Yes.
It's very slim chances that you would exist.
Yeah. So we're one of the selected few.
Yeah.
And so this is the idea of the podcast, is to connect people to the guests, because people and the guests are the same.
Yeah.
They're the same people.
Yeah.
But there's one catch to it. You have to have something that you're doing.
Yeah. You're doing something about it.
Doing something
About your
it.
dreams.
Exactly. I can't just sit down and talk to you when you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
You have a story, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your story if you're not continuing with it?
Yeah.
You have to keep going with your story. It doesn't end here. Even if you're, say, for example, 80, 70 years old, your story keeps rolling until you're 6 feet under. Right? So we want people to tell their stories. We want people to share their stories. And we want to make this podcast as accessible as possible to the people. Right?
Yeah.
And so we started it right here. We started in Hume because this is where I came. I've been here for 6 years, 7 years.
Oh, it's full circle.
Yeah, pretty
Nice.
much. Pretty much.
I love that.
Even when we came here, because when we came as refugees, straight off the plane, I had my auntie, who was our I don't know, what do you call it in English? Like, she was our kafir. What do you call kafir in English? She was our sponsor.
I know what you mean.
Sponsor, pretty much,
Yeah.
when we applied for our visa.
Yeah.
And she had her house in Roxburgh Park.
Yeah.
But when you come fresh to the country, they give you like accommodation for
Right.
free for the first 3 nights. And guess what? Our accommodation, when they first gave us, 2 minutes walk from here.
Wow.
2 minutes walk.
So it's only fitting for the podcast to also start here. Yeah.
I didn't even plan for it to be in this place right here, but
It's
it
not
just
a
happened.
coincidence either.
You think so?
Yeah.
How so?
I believe in things happening for certain reasons. I don't know, maybe even subconsciously.
Yeah.
That maybe you're not like consciously aware of like, oh, where are we gonna film? But subconsciously you're like, this is fitting.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Do you believe
especially,
in destiny? Or do you believe in shaping your own destiny?
I think you shaping your own destiny is your destiny. I think maybe it is written. I've got that strong feeling that it is written. But I don't let it get to my head too much. Because if I do, then I will settle, because I did fall into that hole and I'm not going to do it. I did say that, okay, I'm just going to do whatever and I'm going to start the podcast and I'm just going to succeed. That's just how it's going to go. I know I'm going to succeed. Matter of fact, I do know I'm going to succeed. I know. But I don't let that idea get to me.
Yeah.
I don't sit down and say,
You'd still
I
be
will
content
succeed.
if you fail initially.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not the destination you're willing to stay at.
No. And it's not even the destination that matters.
Yeah.
It's the whole journey.
There is no destination. You think there is like a bus stop, like, oh, this is success. Like, I don't really think that's your idea of success. Because if
No, that's
it's
interesting.
like, if it's like just a like place that you reach, what? So you can't build on that success?
What if it's
That's
more than one destination? What
Then
if it's
that's
just-
not a destination.
It's not a destination. It's a few destinations.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
You don't.
yeah.
If it's a few stops, that means you don't really stop. You keep. It's a
It's more like
ongoing thing.
it's more like going up the stairs, right? Yeah.
Except the stairs don't.
They don't finish. They
Just
don't
keep
end.
going
They-
to heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Oh well, that's quite fitting. It's quite fitting. Imagine the stairs keep going to heaven, and if you think about heaven as the best place you could imagine yourself being in at, and whatever it could be. So for some people, it could be money. For some people, it could be health. For some
Commercial success.
exactly.
Yeah.
If that's your heaven, then you have to keep going until you get to it, and then when you get to it, you're dead.
Right.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
We've cracked the code on that
We
one.
did exclusively figuring out life
Yeah.
mysteries on Solif FM.
It's a different podcast.
It is a very different podcast.
Yeah.
It's got a very different spirituality to it. We try to keep the brand
in the works.
in the words.
There we go.
Yeah. Do you like the fonts we use on the logos?
Mm.
Do you like the logo?
I thought it was very professional. Yeah, I didn't know you guys were starting out
What's that?
until I went to the social media account. And I'm like, okay, you guys are
Oh,
new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very new.
Yeah.
I did that logo.
I didn't know that you guys were just starting out.
No, it's very fresh. Like, not a lot of people know about it. I told you, but mostly I publish things on my personal Instagram, and then the people that follow me, they decided to come and join, and then I met with new
Your
people.
personal network is a great place to start.
Of course.
Like, we underestimate, like, when you're building a clientele, or like when I was first starting out, I was like, where am I going to get clients? Like, what do I even do? And it's like, you know people that know people that know people, your family, and because some people are like, oh, your family and friends as clients doesn't count. It does.
They do.
Because then you get clients that you don't know from those circles.
Yes.
So it definitely counts.
They're like your first audience.
Yeah.
They're literally your first audience, and you have to present to them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't present to those people, who the hell are you going to present to?
Right.
And then you go from there.
People think they don't have an audience. I think every single person has an audience.
Every single person has an
Yeah.
audience.
It's built in.
Yes.
Like, it's your family, it's your friend.
Yeah.
That's the audience.
Some people don't see it that way. Some
I
people
know.
don't think about it that way. They don't think that the people they're surrounding themselves with care enough to hear what they have to say. That's very wrong.
I initially thought that. I felt that way.
Do you feel like your parents didn't care?
I felt like
Your family? Your friends?
I felt like now I have a very strong support system. And I think I always did, but I felt like for some reason, for whatever reason, when I was starting out, I felt they're not going to vibe with the idea, with this vision, because only I can see that. And until people start to like see where you're going, or you start showing them some things, some proof, they're like, oh, now I get it. But when you don't have anything and there is that bridge of seeing, you know, those things come to life, and from not having anything, people don't see what you see in your head until you start taking steps, and then they start to see it. They don't always connect that.
No.
You know, I think there's a vision put in your mind for a reason. And you're born with your certain characteristics, traits, skills, and interests to shape you into the exact person that you're supposed to be. But no one else can relate to that because everybody's different.
Yes.
So...
But I think it's also a journey for the people around you.
It is.
And a challenge.
It is.
Because if you go up one day and they, especially for your parents, they know you one way.
Right.
You know yourself a different way.
Completely different.
Completely different. And then when you decide to like show your true colors, or more like morph into what you think you are and be more authentic about it and be more real with it and just succumb to it.
Yeah.
It's a challenge and a journey for them to go.
It's like an identity crisis.
Yeah. It's like they have to kind of like adjust to who you are becoming, to who you want to be, and try not to let what they think you are or you were at the time get in that way.
Yeah.
And I especially saw that with my parents when I wanted to switch.
What did they think?
Oh, Jesus.
They're not supportive by that reaction?
Not at all. My mother...
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Leaving this solid career, ruining your life.
Not even this. It was, for example, something as simple as switching in uni courses. No one liked it. No one liked it. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it.
Who was your support system in that time?
My brother.
I love that.
My brother. My brother is probably my number one cheerleader.
He's a built-in cheerleader.
He's a built-in cheerleader because
it's very lucky.
My brother, he's older than me. He's 40 years older than me, and he's so different to me. It's very contrasting because he's more of a cup half full kind of guy, and I'm more like a cup half empty type of guy. But he helps me get to the middle. So he's up there with optimism. He's all the way optimistic. He's all the way spiritual. He's always finding the best in people.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Right.
I'm always finding the worst in scenarios. I go, oh, what if, you know?
I feel like you are like my brother and I, but switched.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm your brother in this scenario.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the thing...
But it helps balance you guys out. Exactly.
And you need those relationships. You need those dynamics because it makes you grow as a person.
Right.
Without my brother, I would not be here 100%. 100% I would not be here. Right? He was there to help me see things I couldn't see. And I'm there to help him see things he can't see. And you need those people in your life, whether it's family, friends, relatives. You need them.
I'd be concerned if your perspective wasn't changed or challenged.
You'd be a very stubborn person.
I'd be concerned if you go through life and your perspective hasn't changed, evolved, was challenged. Yeah. You need people around you that give you an angle. Maybe see outside of yourself. See life outside of your bubble. Because there's always more to it.
What's the biggest change you had to make? What's the biggest shift that was challenging to you? Something
perspective change or just change in life?
No, I'd say perspective. Something that you didn't want to do. Something that you didn't want to admit you were wrong, but then you admitted that you were wrong.
There's so many things.
Jesus.
Because I'm very open to
change.
Well, yeah, you have to be if you want to go anywhere. You cannot go to where you want to be doing things you are doing now. Otherwise, you would have already been there. It doesn't make sense. You have to change things in order to see change in your future. I had to change my perspective on the definition of success. That's one thing I had to change my perspective on, because I was looking at it as like, what does success mean to other people? And it's like, success is a lot of different things. What did it mean to me? Because when you reach the success of other people's definition, you don't feel like you've reached success.
No.
You're there, but you're like, oh, like I'm supposed to be successful. I don't feel successful. Because it's not my definition for my life.
What was it for you? What was the definition for you before you changed it?
The definition, it wasn't like one set in stone definition, but one of the facets of success in other people's eyes was doing something prestigious. And while now, when you obviously level up and you're good at what you do, it becomes prestigious, but it doesn't start like that. But that's not my goal. My goal is to feel like something gets me out of bed in the morning, like fulfilled in what I do in my life, like actually changing other people's lives with what I'm doing and connecting with people and telling people's stories through my art and my own story and having my own mark. That was my definition. Other people's were like, you have to be at the top, or like you have to be doing something, you know, traditional or the highest earned like position that you could get, and you know, you have to make as much money as possible in your, and don't get me wrong, like of course, like we have to worry about that, but at the cost of your happiness. Yeah, I don't care if like I'm not a billionaire, if I'm, you know, happy and like doing really well and with the lifestyle and affording the lifestyle that I want. But I don't care for the excess lavishness that might be defined as success. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, absolutely. So you'd be happy with what you have as long as you're happy with it, as long as it's meaningful.
Yeah, well, like I obviously always want to level up. But that's not that I'm unhappy with where I am. It's that I'm not complacent. There's a difference between being content and complacent. Like you could still love where you're at, but you don't want to stay there. And you want to level up. But you're enjoying the process. You're not like, oh, I'm not there yet, so I'm unhappy. Because then you'll never really be happy. Because there's always a next. You have to be content with where you are. And then, obviously, if you're not content with where you are, then you have to also find that meaning. But it keeps evolving.
I think I have to keep the trip in the back of your head all the time with everything that you're doing.
Bigger picture?
Yeah. If you lose the bigger picture, it becomes challenging to go through the everyday struggle. It becomes very difficult to see the why. You have to keep the why, the biggest why, in the back of your head when you're doing your work. Because if you lose it, then even getting up in the morning in the bed is going to be a struggle. It's going to drive you into very dark places.
There's a lot of really miserable billionaires out there.
Are
that
you one
I've
of them?
lost. Not hopefully, not the billionaire part, but the miserable part. Hopefully not never. But yeah, they've lost the bigger picture. They've got all this money. Yeah, you've got commercial success. There's no doubt about that. But what am I doing this for? Like, is there meaning in what I do?
Yeah.
Does it serve a purpose, or am I just like living day to day like?
No, you're absolutely right. A lot of people talk in the mindset that if you give me $5 million, I'll be happy right now. You know,
we chase the money because it affords us like more time and experiences of things that we actually want to do. But it's ironic when we get trapped chasing the money and we actually stop doing what we actually want to do that is supposed to be the way that money gets to it. So we just lose it at some point. The whole point is like, it's not the money that we're chasing. We're chasing, you know, all of the opportunities and possibilities that helps open for us. But if we're not living that and then, you know, our sole purpose becomes money-making machines,
Yeah.
then we're not like really living as human beings.
Yes, but I do think that money is a big part of it too. Like, it's not going to make you happy. There's no way the money is going to make you happy.
No, I agree with you that, like, we need it. It's so
100%.
valuable.
It is very valuable because...
I'm not saying otherwise, but I'm saying it's not your goal.
No.
What you want to do with it is the goal.
For some people, it is. For some people, it is. Like, you find some people that wake up solely to make money. That's it. That's just their whole life. And it's created that whole grind set culture where...
The hustle.
The hustle culture, pretty much, where I wake up to make money. I go to sleep making money.
You got the coffee in the morning.
I got the coffee in the morning, 4 a.m. club.
You have to make money in your sleep.
You have to make money. You have to make money in the bathroom. You have to make money in the toilet. I'm always making money. And I'm not against it. Like, it's good to encourage wealth. Because
it is. Building generational wealth, I think, is really important.
It's very important.
And I think, especially in this economy, having multiple streams of income
is key. It's crucial, actually.
Yeah. It's not even like it's not a good thing to have, or it's crucial.
It's crucial, yeah.
You need to go against the grain of, like, you know, you need to ensure your security. And in, you know, a time when there's inflation and just so much unpredictability, you can't risk not being prepared. So you have to be smart about it too. But I'm saying is that you have to know your why. Like, are you truly fulfilled within?
No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Like, I had a period of time a few years back where I know if I did something, I could have had like maybe 100,000 by now, 200,000 by now. I could have started dropshipping. I could have started 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of different ways to make money.
Oh, yeah.
It's all out
it's
there.
endless.
It is endless.
Yeah.
And it's not that the idea is hard. The idea is there if you put yourself to it. I just didn't put myself to it. Not because I don't want to make $100,000. No one says that.
No one wouldn't.
Of course, right? But if I was going to do it, I'm going to do it doing what I love.
The way, exactly. It's how you do it.
Exactly.
Because, you know, we could become a neurosurgeon.
We could.
Like,
Yeah, you could if you know.
I mean, you need... I actually got told in school, because I'm interested in sciences. I love biology, psychology. I love psych as well. And I was very interested, and I did well in school, and I got told there was a parent-teacher interview. And my teacher was so pressing. My parents were really excited. I had anxiety. He was like, I see her doing something in science. We need more women in science. And she's definitely got the smarts for it. And my dad heard that and he held on to it. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I want to be a creative. This is not going to be good news. This made it worse for me.
He just saw the plaque on the wall.
His eyes lit up. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to disappoint him so bad. But like... Yeah. You could do so many things.
Yes.
You're not, like, human beings are not we're multifaceted. We're very talented and skilled, and I genuinely believe that for everyone, whether they believe it about themselves or not. And there's so much that you could be doing, but it's like, why do people choose a certain career over another? Or a certain way of making their living? And it's not always passion-driven.
No, I think a big part of it is culture.
Yeah.
I think a huge part of it is culture. And culture is dangerous because it's like a double-edged sword. It's good for a period of time, and then it grows outdated. You gotta move along with the culture. It's like a spectrum, right? It's like a rainbow that keeps moving along the time, and you gotta figure yourself out in that timeline. Area. You gotta stay within it, because if there's culture right here, this culture from 1950, this culture from 1970, and if you're born in the 1960s, the culture from the 1950s is still creeping on the 60s. But you got the culture from the 1970s also creeping in.
You have to adapt.
You can't keep getting caught up there.
Yeah.
And so culture creates this problem where they present to you what you should do. Cool.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. What you should do. But they don't present it in the way that serves your purpose, per se. So
because they don't know that.
They don't know that.
You can't individuate a whole system.
No.
It's not a one size fits all.
No.
As similar as we are very like unique individually.
That's sort of that reminds me of the logo, because you've seen the Eye of Horus, yeah?
Yeah.
The Eye of Horus.
Egypt here.
Yeah.
Represent.
Exactly. The Eye of Horus is a story about culture.
Yeah.
It's
really
exactly that. And they figured out how to give life meaning through stories. And they've told it to,
it's very fitting.
Generations.
Yeah.
And it goes on and on and on. And that's why I picked the Eye of Horus for the logo.
That's genius.
Appreciate it.
I didn't know that.
Oh, no, it's...
Like, I've put some things together, symbols, but like when you tell it like that.
Yeah, it's got an
very
idea.
meaningful.
It's not just there. Like, it's also the wow letter.
Yeah.
Because with the word Solif, it serves as a wow.
Yeah.
But it's also there for a reason. Like, I could have just used a normal wow and put something else.
You did it with intention. Every part of it. Yeah.
Everything is intentional, but not a lot of people can catch on to it.
Yeah.
That's why, the people that do catch on, they do catch on. The people that don't, well, if you ask them, no. Yeah. And I love this story. Probably one of my favorite stories is the Egyptian methodology.
Which one?
I would probably say the Eye of Horus. It means a lot. It means a lot to me. And I could have used something from...
This is the key of life?
Yes, but no, probably the Eye of Horus, because...
Based on stories. Based on stories.
A lot. It's a very long story. It's so full. It's so, chunky.
Rich.
It's very rich.
Yeah.
And actually, the story of Horus is what they used to evaluate the pharaohs. And so I told you, they figured out a way to how to pick a pharaoh, and they run him through the whole story of Horus. And if you can, accept responsibility and see chaos and malevolence, because that's essentially what Seth represented. He represented malevolence, and you had Isis. She was chaos because she was the queen of the underworld. Yeah. And if you can see that, then
this
you're
is
good
so interesting. I love that you're bringing Egypt into
it's
this.
Beautiful. I love Egypt.
I think my ancestors are very happy right now.
They're very proud right now.
I love that.
And I could have used something from Mesopotamia. We have Marduk.
Right. Yeah.
Marduk. He's pretty much the Horus of Mesopotamia. Yeah. But for me, the one that hits home most is probably Egypt.
I like that there is an eye into it as well, because I feel like, I don't know, eyes tell a lot of stories. I think this is really interesting, and I'm not sure if that's how everybody paints, but when I started painting, the first thing I would go in for is the eye. Like before the outline, like I'd start the eye and then the rest of the face. For some reason, I was very attracted to eyes. Yeah. And then one of the exercises we were told to do at uni was kind of like people watching, and we would sketch people like from life.
Yes.
And I was very careful not to get eye contact because that would have been awkward. But I looked at eyes. I don't know. I'm very drawn to that. And there's so much expression. I think it's the most expressive part of someone's face, I think. Like you could tell. Somebody could be like, I'm so happy, and their eyes are like, I'm about to cry. They're very expressive.
Yeah. I mean, you can get lost looking into people's eyes. Yeah. And that's the beauty about it, because if you stare long enough into an eye and you focus about the eye, and I've done this a lot.
Yeah. Me too.
And you start losing the what's malamih?
The facial features.
The facial feature. You don't focus on that anymore. You just focus on the eye. Yeah. And then this person, for me, based on their eyes, their facial expressions start forming, even if they're like smiling. If I look at the eye, and then you start seeing this person, if they had an unhappy eye, you start seeing the unhappy facial expressions.
You see their entire story. Yeah. Just looking at them.
It's beautiful. And
it is.
They
say eyes are the windows to the soul, and I genuinely think, there's something very soulful about them. Like, even when, not just human eyes, actually, like when I went horse riding, The eyes of a horse
They tell a lot of
are
stories too. Yes.
magnificent. So beautiful.
They are beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite eye color?
I actually think like every single, not just the color, but the eye to me comes in like a whole, like the shape and, just a lot of different things. And I actually find beauty in a lot of different things. So I don't have a favorite color. That said, I think, blue-green eyes are stunning. We obviously, and like in our culture, it's like that's the standard beauty.
Is it?
I hear that
for
a
Middle
lot.
Eastern? Which culture?
I mean, yeah, Western society, but even like Middle Eastern society, like idealizes blue-green eyes.
For women?
Maybe for both, actually.
Oh.
From what I've heard.
I don't think so.
Really?
In Iraq, it's black.
Really?
Dark, yeah. Dark eyes in Iraq.
So my eyes then.
Yes, 100%. So in Iraq, it's always songs
Really?
about dark eyes. You don't hear a song about
I have
anything
heard,
else.
Abdul Halim Hafiz, I have heard he has a song about the eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, because a lot of people, I don't know, from, like you hear young girls, little girls, like, I wish my eyes had color. Like when you have like dark, when I was growing up and I was looking, there was one point where I was the only like Middle Eastern kid at in my class. And like everybody had these beautiful like green eyes. And I'm like, I'm like, a bit darker than everybody too. And I'm like, oh, but like I find so much beauty in that. I love my incredibly dark brown eyes that you can see a reflection in them. But I do love, brown eyes tell a lot as well. Yeah. I find beauty in our Middle Eastern features, which growing up, it was kind of, this term, el-ajanib?
Yeah.
They're always like,
Gringos.
Yeah. If you're a foreigner, you're more idealized. If you have the Western, like, beauty standards.
Yeah, like blonde hair.
Yeah, blue eyes, green eyes. You're like, wow, And I'm like, well, what about, there is richness in brown eyes. They're like golden sand. Like, there's so much beauty. And I feel like I didn't feel that growing up. The narrative may be changing now.
Yes.
But, yeah, I think we should celebrate the beauty of brown eyes.
We got like 3 brown-eyed people. Are you brown-eyed?
There's not a single.
You're out of the circle. Sorry, man.
Oh, well, I've heard this. Like your eyes can't be fully black.
They can't.
Like there is not. It's really really dark brown.
Otherwise, you're demonic.
Pretty much. But yeah, so I'm a really really dark brown that it's like blackish.
Because we got the lining and it's still pretty dark.
Yeah.
It's also very glossy.
Yeah.
I think glossy eyes have something to them as well. I don't know where. But the more glossy, I think it's...
What does that mean, glossy eyes?
It's like, how there's some eyes that are a little bit watery.
Oh.
But they're not crying. So like...
I promise I'm not.
I know, that's the thing. I think it's got something to do with emotion. So the more emotional you are, the more watery your eyes are going to be, the more glossy.
Oh, they're just giving me away. I don't have a poker face. They're just giving me away.
But you're an artist. You have to be emotional. Right?
Huge myth that I definitely think we are very emotional. And we find inspiration in the most random, like a tree, like people just walking past, and you find this artist like it's so inspiring. But it's a huge myth that people associate like being the tortured artist stereotype. I think it's a little bit dangerous because it's just dangerous normalizing mental illness with art or like mental health with art. If you're an artist, you have to be tortured or you have to paint about pain. And I think you could have like a full, rich life and be happy and like express beauty in art as well. Emotion is a spectrum. It's not necessarily just like sadness and suffering, but it's definitely an important element of it.
But I think you also have to go through that spectrum. You gotta like, it's not you gotta, you will.
No,
you will.
Life will, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yes.
If it hasn't already, it's coming. There's no escape.
Whatever art you put out there,
Yeah.
is going to be relative to your
To
situation.
your life experience.
Yeah, on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I see that with artists all the time,
All
like
the time.
especially musicians. Like you would listen to a musician that was, putting out sad music. And
Adele.
then, was she putting out sad music?
Yeah.
But even her recent album, it was a little bit sad, wasn't it? It kind of had that tone to it. I didn't listen to it that much.
Go easy on me. Yeah, there is a
Yeah.
bit. She always has something that's very like reflective on her life. I don't think the one song just describes a certain like mood that she's in or a certain I think it's multiple life stages. She sings a lot about, when she was younger.
Yeah.
And how she's evolved into the woman that she is.
No, she's very elegant.
It's beautiful.
She's very good.
It's so beautiful.
She also doesn't perform live. She doesn't. Her shows are like very exclusive. So the last time she performed live was in the Galileo Observatory in LA. And it had like, it was a big whoa.
Did you see the proposal that...
She got proposed to?
No, there was someone who proposed to his fiance and Adele like organized the whole one of her concerts.
No.
How amazing.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was a full auditorium.
Yeah.
And she just starts singing.
Yeah.
And the girl is like in tears. Oh, it's beautiful.
Imagine getting proposed while Adele is there.
She didn't know. She was like blindfolded. She didn't know where they were.
Oh, yeah.
And then she opens her eyes. She's like, why are we in an auditorium?
Yeah.
And who are these people?
Yeah. So they were holding a hostage pretty much.
Yeah. For a good it's a good cause.
I don't know about kidnapping an artist for a proposal. That's a bit going too far. That's like the gender reveals going too crazy. What are they going to do for
how
that?
romantic do you want to... There's a fine line.
We're going to gender reveal off the plane. We're going to parachute off.
It's true. Yeah.
What do you think of that? Gender reveals?
Gender reveals.
Are they going too crazy or are they not?
Who's going too crazy? What do you think?
I've seen some mental things.
I feel like when you said that, your eyes said something. And you're like, I've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot, man.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a WWE match gender reveal. I've seen a football game gender reveal, like a fully blown 90 minutes gender reveal.
Yeah.
I've seen a jumping off a plane gender reveal. Right? Deadlifting.
Okay, that's a little bit.
That's a little bit much.
Jumping. Okay, interesting.
Oh, yeah. So they jump off the plane, both of them.
Yeah.
And they parachute together, but they're like holding a box, right?
Oh,
And
my
up until
gosh.
they get to the, landing zone, they just drop it and yeah.
Oh, that's an experience.
That's one hell of an experience. Imagine if the parachute doesn't fall. What happened to Daddy?
Would you ever
Gender reveal off the plane.
would you ever like skydive?
Oh, I want to.
Me too.
I want to. I've never
Someone
tried
needs
it.
to push me off though. Because my foot is not stepping off with my own will.
Well, with or without the parachute.
I'm like, what if it doesn't open? I need someone there. It's
You
like,
have to.
hello.
You have 2 parachutes, don't you? Is it
Yeah,
2 or 3?
no. You have a couple backups. They're not just gonna send you off with.
It's not that. It's not jumping off. It's the fear that the parachute doesn't open, and then the backup doesn't open, and then the backup to the backup doesn't open. It's that fear that all 3 are not gonna happen, and then you're just left there. And then you have to contemplate and think about your life.
See, there's a very, very, very slim chance.
But it could happen.
Nonetheless, there is a chance.
There is an absolutely
It's
weak
not
chance.
a zero.
So it's not a zero. It's not a zero.
So that's
I think
interesting.
there's skydiving. I don't know. Is there skydiving in Melbourne? Yeah.
Yeah.
Eureka Tower.
There's 2, one in St Kilda. Another one is like down in the south. And there's a third one actually in Great Ocean Road.
Oh, there you go. Great Ocean Road.
He's
St.
already
Kilda.
looked.
He's already looked.
already
Yeah,
keen.
I wanted to
He's
try the one
planning.
in Dubai, but it's like
Me too.
Dubai,
I
yeah.
couldn't afford it to be honest.
Because like, come on, the views. You get a shot of
Yeah.
this, and you don't have to do it again. It's just like a once in a lifetime experience.
But listen, Dubai is tempting, yeah. But I don't rate the views from Burj Khalifa, me personally, because it's all desert.
You think it's what, overrated or?
Dubai,
Yeah.
as a city,
Yeah,
or the skydive.
either.
Oh,
Both.
the skydive, no, absolutely not. Dubai, I think it is very overrated.
Really?
I think it's more, it's less than what people make it out to be. It's like a
It's a
modern
good
day.
place to shop.
It's a good place to shop.
Yeah.
It's a good place to take photos.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with it. It's
There's nothing else to do.
It's nothing else. It's just there. It's like, it's a big circus. I don't want to call it a circus because circus is like, kind of the wrong word, but it puts on a show. It puts on a show and it's attractive and people go to it and they know why they go to it and they know why people come to it. But it doesn't offer you what you would want. That's, say, for example, a meaningful experience. That's just my opinion. And I'm not hating on it. I love Dubai and I love what they did with the Emirates, because the journey they took from going to an empty desert to this modern day utopia is great. They executed, they planned, and they gave back to their people pretty much. But for me, Dubai is not it. Like, I'd rather be in Sharjah. I'd rather be in Abu Dhabi, because because they probably are a little bit less crowded, one, more populated with citizens, two. It gives you more of an Emirati authentic experience if you want. Dubai is not Emirat. Dubai is not Emirat. Dubai is what people think Middle East should be. And if you go to the Middle East, say, for example, you go, I don't know, Mecca, you go Qahira, you go Iskandariya, you go Baghdad, you go Beirut, you go Lebanon, you go to these places. And even not even these places, you go to like less popular places, you see what the Middle East is actually,
Yeah, there's a definite like expectation versus reality kind of.
Dubai fills this expectation to the max.
Yeah.
And it goes overboard. That's why I don't like it. So whenever someone goes, I want to visit Middle East, okay, where are you going?
Go to Lebanon, go to Egypt.
They go, I'm going to Dubai. I go, you're not visiting the Middle East. Yeah, you're visiting what people think the Middle East is. But it's very beautiful. With that being said, it's absolutely beautiful.
It's stunning.
Stunning.
We went for like literally a day after Egypt, like on the way back. And I was like, I wanted to explore the city. Like, I want some more time. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Would you go back?
Dubai? Yeah.
For how long?
Enough to experience the city.
Well, how long do you need?
I reckon at least 2 weeks.
2?
To to experience the city. I don't know if I would live there. But I think it'd be... Actually, like, one of my bucket listers for like goals that I've got is I would love to do a mural in Dubai.
Yeah,
I would love that.
What would you do? What kind of mural would you do in Dubai?
Ooh, there's so much that you could put. It depends on like where the location is. I want to do something. Yeah, I want to do some like a woman empowerment kind of thing. I really would love. I think it would be a beautiful center for that.
Who's, say, your top 3 women figures in the Arab world?
Do you know Amina Khalil? I love that actress. I feel like you can see her heart from the way she speaks. And a lot of what her experience and everything resonates with who I am as a person. I feel like we're very similar. More women from the Arab world. There's so many names and I'm a bit...
You're not going to say Yusra?
Yusra is a good one.
Kulthum.
She's got a very thriving career.
She does.
Kulthum, it's like the generation, it's like my parents' generation. So I can't say that I fully know her story. I know that she went through a hell of a story though.
But she's so magnificent. She's like their Adele.
She's a pioneer.
She is.
She's a pioneer. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Zaha Hadid?
Zaha Hadid.
She's
she's an architect. Yes.
I love her, man.
I love.
She's dead, but rest in peace.
No, she's amazing. Though her work is
lives on.
Exactly. Yeah. She's built something that's like there to stay.
Yeah, she's my inspiration when I was a kid.
I love that
because I wanted to be an architect.
Yeah, I got into architecture too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah.
We have that in common. Yeah,
all 3 of us. Yeah. I went in. The first thing that I did at Melbourne was architecture.
Architecture,
yeah.
Bachelor's, yeah.
Yeah. But I switched halfway through to graphic design. So I did about 1.5 years, 2 years of architecture. What
did you do in Milan Uni?
Milan Art Institute. So this is it's a fine arts international art school. So it's like international. They are based in Georgia in the US. And yeah, I'm pretty much studying with them. I'm always, just upskilling, and it's like a classical training, but it's also a business training as well for being an artist.
It's virtual.
The art of business. Yeah. Yeah. And then they do host gallery shows, which I'm working to be part of in the US. And then they've got Greece retreats and things like that.
Oh.
So
something to look forward to.
Definitely.
All
So
the
that's
Santorini
another
pics.
thing that I'm working towards.
When do you graduate?
From that.
Yes.
It's at your own pace kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But I should be by end of next year.
Oh, that's not long.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's not long.
Yeah.
Do you plan on doing something else or?
Well, right now I'm like fully like booking murals, so it's just hard to like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Galleries. As an artist, there's so much. There's so many avenues. There's like galleries. There is murals. There is, like we were saying, your own merch and your own designs. There's so much that you can dabble into. And I'm kind of trying to put a foot everywhere, but you do have to eventually like focus at least for a while on one thing.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta put your focus on one thing and aim solely at that to be very good at it, and then you can move on.
That's right.
No, I agree. Dina, what's your favorite mural of yours?
Ooh. Oh, okay, that's a tough one. I've got a couple, and I'll tell you why. I love the Einstein piece that I did, and that was commissioned by Chemist Warehouse, for their headquarters for the staff cafe, and I got feedback like from actual staff there that are like, this makes my day. Like when I'm having my morning coffee, it actually just makes me feel happier. Yeah. Like it makes my work environment just feel better starting the day off.
It's more vibey.
Yeah.
It's not dead.
And so that makes me, that's amazing because you could influence someone's day like that. Just a very simple thing. Yeah. So I love that. And it was a milestone for me. So I like that.
How long did it take you to finish?
It was about 5 days.
That's not long.
It's not.
That's very short.
None of my murals take that long.
I thought you were going to say something like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
No. 5 days.
Is that like 5 days of...
Working week.
Yes, but
so
like
my day is about 10 hours.
10 hours every day?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Average
days for muralists are like, they could be 10 to 12 hour days.
Oof.
Yeah. And we work hard.
Oh, hey. Okay. Respect, man.
Yeah. But everyone is different. I mean, like working for yourself, you could schedule, like if I wanted to do it over a little bit longer, I could do like 4 hours this day and then like hustle up on another day. It's very, as long as you're within the timeline that you have and the time frame that the client agreed on, you can kind of schedule it based on your own. I just like hustling. I just like to work.
Yeah.
I don't say this at any job. I actually do that because I love it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel, I get lost in the payment for 10 hours. It doesn't.
It does.
Albeit everything else feels like there is so much work that actually goes like behind the scenes. Yeah. So it's not as easy as it seems, but the actual job when you're doing it, you're like, this was the whole point. This is success. Like I feel fulfilled. That's my definition.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
100% understand.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same thing I go through too. Because like all the work leading up to this.
Oh, it's the worst.
I know.
You work harder than everybody else.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's like I told you earlier, you just keep banging. But when you get here, you get lost in it.
You're like, this was worth it.
Yeah, like how long have we been doing this? 1 hour, 30 minutes. It doesn't even feel like.
There you go. Yeah.
We could go on for like more.
Oh, we could talk for hours.
For hours, but you enjoy it. You get immersed into it, especially like we were talking about earlier. You do something you like because it's immersive. You lose yourself into it, and then it's not just work.
Yeah.
It's not just a job.
Yeah.
It's a career. It's something that's meaningful. You're doing you, quite literally.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I love that.
What is your most challenging mural.
My most challenging mural. Ooh, okay, let me think. Okay, so my most challenging mural would actually be, ironically, this wasn't my first mural, but it was one of my early ones. And I took on, I think I was like a little bit over ambitious, and because you know, when you don't have the experience yet, you kind of feel like you could take it on, like I could do this in like a day. And then you understand your timeline once you do more. And so that was, I took on, for this particular mural, I took on, there was like, it was a very detailed piece. And I took on a week, and it was not a weak piece. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what do I do now?
I did it, oopsie.
Yeah, that's the micro failure. And I'm like, but no, I had to have it finished. You know, there was a very strict date. It was for an important launch. And I was like, okay, all right, let's go. It's fine. We're going to calm down. We're going to go get a Red Bull or 10. And I actually pulled an all-nighter on that one. Jeez. I slept in the place.
Jesus.
I did. I couldn't go home.
Where was it?
I was like, I have to persevere. It was around the Bondura area. Yeah. But I was like, I have to persevere because, yeah.
It would be concerning if you slept around all night in Frankston.
Yeah, no, the mural in Coolaroo, I was like, by 8 o'clock, see you later. There was a bunch of people just like coming outside, like they would bring their own steps and they would sit and like shisha and like, like they had a sesh. And I was like
they made it a whole event.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to close up for now. And I'll come back tomorrow morning when everyone is gone. Yeah. Every site's very different. Yeah.
Have you had any murals that were damaged?
Not yet, thank God.
Okay, that's good. Do you ever think about that?
I mean, like, hopefully not ever. But, there's a lot of people that tag murals. And they, some of the reasons people actually request murals is because their walls keep getting tagged. And they want to actually increase the value of their property. And a mural could really do that.
It does.
If it's executed well, definitely. And it doesn't, there's a difference between graffiti and mural.
Yes.
So, I had a request recently. Yeah, their wall keeps getting tagged and they were like, we need a professional piece. There is a coat, like there is an anti-graffiti coat that you can apply actually to murals to prevent that. We go through, we use protective sealants.
Oh, yeah.
You go through the effort to make sure, like a mural lifespan is at least a decade. Like this thing lives on.
That's without touching it up and keeping it.
Yeah.
And then if you touch
just
it just not
and then very simple maintenance. Yeah.
No, that's nice. I like murals. I love them. Most of the murals I see, they're sports related.
Yeah. If you go to Richmond or it's all
not
like
those ones. Because that's funny.
Right.
The ones I see. But yeah, you're right.
But that suburb is full of
because they love their club.
Yeah.
They love it.
Athlete murals and
Yeah, they love Richmond.
Yeah.
And we love to annoy Richmond fans because last time me and him were out, it was a Essendon Richmond game.
No,
Carlton? Carlton, Essendon. Yeah. And we were in Carlton, and I don't like footy that much.
You don't go for anyone.
I don't go for anyone, but my friends forced me to go into a football team.
My partner forced me to.
See, exactly. And I had to go with one, and I had to choose Essendon Bombers.
You're like, I have no idea how they're performing, but we'll
just for the Bombers name.
Yeah.
And I went with that, and they won versus Carlton. And we were at Carlton, and we were cruising through the car, and I had to put the window down and tell everyone in Carlton that Carlton lost, and he had to get the window up and lock it because we were gonna get smacked.
Yeah, no, don't joke about these things. People lose friendships over this.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I got asked in public, like in a public place, which team do you go for? And I'm like, what? I was like, I'm not going to admit anything. I don't know who's.
We don't.
We don't want to get egged.
We don't disclose this information.
Yeah.
Dina. What is your most core memory?
That's a very broad one. As a what? Like a as a child, in adulthood, just in life?
Overall, something that you will always remember, something that you can always remember so strongly. It's like you're there, you're living it again.
There are a couple. But one thing that stands out to me is I had a mentor when I started out. The reason I actually started going after murals and starting my business, like the actual reason, was a specific day, a visit to another artist that I really looked up to. And I just messaged her page. She's a huge artist. I messaged her page on Instagram. And she's like the elite, which is literally what I look up to, you know, and she's been in the industry for like 10 years. And so I was like, well, this is where I want to be, like, this is what I want to be doing. And the best way to do that, I think, is to contact someone and befriend someone who's actually doing what you want to be doing and where you want to go. And I contacted her. I didn't think I'd get an answer, but I just shot my shot. And she replied and she's like, yeah, come down. Well, we had a 3-hour conversation that day. And I was so motivated. I started advertising. Like when I went home, I started advertising. Like, guys, I'm doing this. Like that. And it honestly made me believe that this was possible. And so I'm living the results of that visit today. Yeah. That was crucial. I actually don't think I either would have not done this straight away, or it would have taken a few extra years for me to even have the courage to pursue what.
How long ago was that?
That was 3 years ago, which is when I started. Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm only just at the beginning of my journey.
Absolutely.
Like there's so many milestones. Yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta start somewhere, no?
Yeah.
But that's the beauty about it. Once you start, you can hit those milestones and then look back at where you were and where you are, and then keep going.
Yeah.
People don't want to look back sometimes because they might have done something wrong. They might have failed. They might have tripped. They might have committed some mistakes, and they don't want to look back at it.
Yeah.
But it's like what we said. You have to look back. You have to
I actually think it's fulfilling.
It is very fulfilling.
Because you could look back and like, oh my gosh, I was such an idiot. This is so funny.
Yeah.
But like, look how far I've come from that.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's very okay. And if you don't, you know, talk that talk with yourself, no one is, because only you know you, and only you know the wrongs that you've done. Most of them, actually. Some people do know the wrongs that you've done, but maybe they're not as courageous to tell you about
There's a self-awareness in that.
There is.
Yeah.
What's your biggest secret that no one knows about you by yourself?
Oh, okay. Is this going to be public knowledge now? Honestly, don't think I have a secret, but let me just try to think.
One thing that no one knows about Dina Gris.
Well, I hide my imposter syndrome pretty well, but that's not a secret anymore.
Not anymore. Should have saved it up.
No, but you know what? It's okay, because I actually want someone to know that when it looks like someone is, you know, doing all of those things and going for it and hitting milestones, and someone feels stuck and thinks that they're the only ones that they feel an imposter syndrome. I'm like, everybody feels that way. Yeah. I think it's important for people to know. I think it's a secret that shouldn't be a secret.
No, because you don't want to be that polished person.
Yeah, I'm not.
No one likes
I'm really
people.
not.
No.
I'm not, even if I tried to be, I'm clumsy as hell.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
So, did you dodge the question now?
No, I promise. Like, I really thought about
is
that. Is, yeah. Like, it's, the secret is that it's not as effortless as it looks. The secret is that, yeah, I struggle and I feel imposter syndrome, and sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough, or like, oh, I take on a project and I'm like, what did I get myself into? Like, it's too big of a project, but then you end up doing it and you surprise yourself.
What's your biggest hurdle as a muralist?
Sometimes honestly being taken seriously. maybe, and I'll explain because you had a funny face. It is very male dominated.
Yeah.
As a lot of industries
It is.
are. And sometimes you'll really get people questioning your process. Be like, oh, you missed a spot. Or like, and like you're not even done. Or like, is this going to look different? And I'm like, it's day one. It will. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, sometimes people really, they're like, well, why are you charging that much? And I'm like, there is a pricing system. I don't just make up the prices.
Yep.
And it's like, they try to like, oh, help me out with the price. And, you know, you'll have more jobs from me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I'm going to underprice every job I have from you.
Yeah.
There's just like, there's definitely hurdles when it comes to people not understanding. Because a lot of people don't, it's a fairly, I would say, new, but also sometimes misunderstood career. Some people don't actually understand how much a mural, like how much work goes into it. And therefore they think it should be like a couple hundred, but they're like, we can get wallpaper. And I'm like, get wallpaper. It's very different. Okay, wallpaper is not gonna look anywhere near like an actual painted piece by an artist. And you've got, you know, the pixels and it's just completely different. It's also a completely original design. So yeah, I would say navigating and finding your right clientele is a struggle. Because a lot of people want murals, but not a lot of people are the right people to work with, I think.
Is that because some people don't really appreciate the art? They just want the mural?
Some people don't. Yeah, and you know what? If you don't appreciate the process or the art, you're probably not going to appreciate the artist. You might end up treating them like crap when you're on the job. There's just red flags when you get some inquiries that come out of like, okay, should I be working with this client or not? And at the beginning, that was very hard for me to navigate. I was just like, I would love to do any project. And I did. But then I learned a lot of things from that. Yeah. Yeah.
Dina?
Yeah.
Let's do... You want to play a game?
Okay.
Cool.
I'm down for a game.
All right, sure. Here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
I get to ask you 2 questions.
And I get to...
Ask me 2 questions.
Okay, great.
But...
Okay, there's a twist.
You have to be very honest about it.
Always.
And you only get 10 seconds to answer.
This is interesting because this will be like very raw. Okay, I'm down.
All right.
Let me just take a sip of that.
We'll get measured to set up the timer.
I have not seen those questions, by the way.
What questions?
I don't know what you're about to ask.
I don't know what I'm about to ask you.
Okay, great. This is an improv.
It's
Okay.
very authentic.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Did you get the timer? We need to put it right here on the table.
Okay. Let's put the timer.
Is that a countdown? No, we need a countdown.
Count up.
Yeah.
Oh, pressure's on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, do I have to think of the question or can I just ask you the same thing?
What do you mean?
Do I ask you the same questions or brand new?
You could, but that's just boring.
Okay. Let's go. Let's start it
All
off.
right. I'm going to start. You got the timer. You got the 10 seconds. All right. My question is, have you ever stolen an idea? Go.
I've borrowed. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was your first question?
This should be a lie detector thing. Yes.
What is borrowing?
Borrowing is, and I think every great artist does this, because
every great artist steals, not borrows.
borrowing and stealing can be, hear me out. You can borrow, which is technically stealing, but I don't believe in stealing an entire idea. I believe in borrowing elements and then making it your own. Because you can't start anything completely originally. Someone has done it. Like we have a history of humans are very like predictable sometimes.
They are.
Someone has done it. Whether it's in your generation or before or in history, someone has done it and there's nothing like completely original.
Okay.
But the originality is in making it your own and borrowing from other things.
So you don't believe in like an original idea?
I believe there is some originality to it, but there is borrowed elements.
There's
like,
no 100%.
No 100%.
No. With that being said, Which mural?
None, actually. With murals, you either have a brief. You either have someone with a very like pretty much well-rounded concept, and they have the design, and you paint it. Or most of the cases, I'm doing the design from scratch as well. For example, I had a residency, I had a mural for a feature wall in a house, and they had a guru that they wanted painted. They had the face, but so like the face is recognizable. I have to use the face because that's who we're painting. So that was not my original. I did not make up his features. But the originality was the background, the everything else in it. There was a horse in this piece. The whole scene, I got told the story of this guru, and then from the story, I made up that design. I definitely used his face and his story. So that's where my originality is combined with something else that happened in history.
So you're
like there is a spark to originality. It's not coming out of nowhere. Is my point. Yeah.
Where does that spark come from?
That spark can come from a lot of things. It can come from like a concept or a brief, someone else's idea, and then you kind of mingle your ideas. It could even come from a very mundane thing you see, like a water ripple or just something very mundane, and then you start really thinking about it and you develop a concept in your head, or a life experience, or a conversation. Everything. Yeah.
Now it's your turn. I got one more question, by the way.
Okay.
That was one. Before we go,
I have one.
Can I get a water? It's right there at the bottom. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going.
Now, hold on. He hasn't set the time yet. You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Can you put it right there, please? All right. Shoot.
If people came with labels on their head, and I'm sure you've seen this somewhere in some video, but I really want to ask that question. If people came with labels on their head of a certain characteristic that you wanted to know about that person upon meeting them, and there was a scale of that certain characteristic, like for example, honesty, and there is like a scale of how honest or dishonest this person is. What would you want?
I'm not even going to turn the time on loyalty.
Okay.
No,
You'd want to know people's loyalty levels.
Yes.
I like
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Because loyalty can build up to love. It can build up to trust. It can build up to honesty.
You wouldn't want trustworthy.
No, because if someone is trustworthy, they're not necessarily loyal.
It's true. Yeah.
Right? But if someone is loyal, then it's the stepping stone. It's the foundation to everything else.
I like that.
Right? If someone is loyal to you, they will go over
and beyond.
Over and beyond to give you all of these feelings.
Yeah.
And it's also something that is kind of lost in our times, I would say, because it's very hard to find someone that's loyal. You can find someone that's trustworthy. You can find someone that's loving. You can find someone to love. You can find honest people.
Why do you think it's particularly harder in our generation, or like in our time, than say another time in history?
Well, I think we say that. We always say that. We say it's this
Every
in our time.
generation says that in our time, but it's a human thing.
It's a human thing. It's because we haven't lived back then. So I say our time, but I haven't lived in the 70s. I haven't lived in the 80s.
They were the same.
Exactly.
I can guarantee, like humans.
It's exactly the same. My parents sometimes sit down and go, "Oh, well, people changed." Yes, because time goes on. People do change, but the fundamental ideas, they don't.
Their human nature doesn't.
Human nature, exactly. We've got Aurelius talking about not wanting to get out of the bed in winter because it's cold 4,000 years ago, right? And he was an emperor. Until this day, people struggle with getting out of bed.
Calling in sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, sorry, I can't make it today.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Literally, man.
Yeah.
Done that so many times.
Like, it's too cold and I can't be bothered for this.
Or COVID. Back when COVID was happening. Yeah, sorry, man. Dying today. Can't make it.
Can't joke about that.
No,
Too
no,
soon.
not too soon, yeah. But yeah, loyalty.
Yeah.
Loyalty for me is very important.
That's amazing. It's a good answer. I think it's an important quality.
It's a very important quality. You need people that are loyal in your life, because it's like I said, if you don't have people that are loyal to you, you need to think twice about who you surround yourself with.
And you need to think twice about what kind of person you are too.
You
Because
are
like,
too,
are
yeah.
you offering loyalty?
Yeah, loyalty.
You
exactly.
want that, but what do you do? Are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't be
Can't
loyal.
really expect what you can't give out.
It's a very underrated trait.
Yeah.
People don't even it goes over their heads, but that's
It is.
that's mine.
Yeah.
Can we get a timer again, please?
Oh, there's another question.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's my last one. I know your password, but I'm just not gonna type it in. Because I can get lost, you know. All right. What is your biggest heartbreak?
You're gonna have to restart the timer a couple of times
Oh,
because
no.
it's gonna take a while.
Oh no.
My biggest heartbreak. No, I can't answer it in that time frame.
You're already gone well
Sorry.
over. How do you stop that? Oh, it just stops.
I'm authentically thinking about it.
Oh no. Was it that deep?
I'm trying to be the most authentic, like on this podcast. So
Oh yeah.
definitely have to think about my answer.
But it takes 30 seconds to answer.
The biggest heartbreak, because I feel like, you know, in life there are definitely quite a few moments where like you feel like your world is shattered. There's a few things that, you know, death of a loved one, career or like life crisis or changing your entire project. Like there's a couple of very pivoting moments in your life. And I'm just trying to think, what is the biggest one?
Did you not get any at the top of your head straight away?
No.
Nothing.
I honestly didn't get one particular thing. I got a couple of flashes.
Yeah. So it's probably one of those.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Mm.
It's not one particular one that stands out. But honestly, my biggest heartbreak was my struggle with depression. Like I had a period of 8 months where like I couldn't move. I had so much anxiety and depression that I couldn't do anything. And I felt like I was stuck.
Mm.
And that was very heartbreaking to me because for a person that like, for anyone really, but for a person that has so much vision and things that they want to do, feeling like you're paralyzed was definitely like really hard. And I needed to find my way back. I almost like lost myself in that period. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. Like I didn't know who I was. And that came from a lot of, you know, other events as well. But the biggest heartbreak was losing myself. Because the biggest thing I have, and I think the biggest accomplishment you can have, is having a healthy relationship with yourself. Everything else comes out of that. But knowing who you are in life and what you want to do is like the biggest accomplishment that you can have. So when I felt like I lost that, that was the biggest heartbreak.
How did you get out of it?
I had to retrain myself again. I had to find my way back to myself. I forced myself to go to events, to go to places, to get to know people. I confided in a network, you know, like a support system. And I confided in God. Yeah. I found my relationship back to myself with a relationship with God. I feel like he's an anchor. He's like my roots. And when you forget about yourself, that's probably a sign that you're forgetting about him. So I just had to go back and redo things. Yeah. I had lost the sight of the bigger picture in that time. Yeah. Yeah.
When you say you lost yourself,
yeah,
was there any particular Dina that you lost, or did you lose all of them? Because for me, you're not just one person. You're more than one person.
I understand
and
that.
they all live up inside your head.
Mm.
Did you just get all of them to quit out on you? Or was there at least one or two that are still there?
There was definitely like one that was like, get up. You still got this.
Yeah.
This is because your head could make you feel so worthless sometimes. And it could just be your head. Like nothing is actually happening in your world that will give you that conclusion, but your head could just make you feel really worthless sometimes. Yeah, there was definitely a Dina in there that like just didn't give up.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't fully, because I came back out of it, but I felt like I had lost the picture. Yeah.
That's very good because now you're here.
See, 30 seconds, but I could talk a lot about it.
I don't mind it, man. I
Yeah.
don't mind it. As long as it's what you feel.
Yeah.
Now your turn.
Ooh, I so want to reverse this question.
Oh my God. Oh no, it's already set. All I have to do is click the button.
Yeah, I'm going to reverse this question.
Jesus Christ.
What was your biggest heartbreak in life? See, the 10 seconds don't work.
No, they don't. Time is up.
See, now you know how I feel. See, it's not the easiest question.
My biggest heartbreak was, I'll say the one that came to my mind first.
Yeah.
Losing my grandma. I don't know why. I've been through tougher situations. I know that for a fact. I've been through a lot worse. I've been through bigger heartbreaks.
I have to.
But the one that just...
Were you close to your grandma?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to play Ludo all the time. We used to play cards all the time. I used to almost give her a stroke one time. No, but like, you know, we had a very close
It's amazing.
relationship.
But do you know how lucky you are, though? Because not a lot of people get to say that.
Yeah, I know. And
I lost my grandma a couple of years back as well.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry about you.
Yeah.
But the thing that you're very lucky to have had is my grandma was in Egypt. Both of them, actually. And I didn't get to see them for a very long time. 12 years. Like, as in, there's only so much of a relationship you can have when you're not physically with that person.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not lucky enough to say that, you know, I've had this, you know, really incredible, profound relationship.
Yeah.
But it still hits you differently.
Yes.
And it's almost like a guilt rather than anything. It's like, well, I wasn't that close to them, but that makes me feel even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I understand because I've got this. Thank you very much. I've got this situation with my aunties right now. They're still in Iraq, and they're all I have left of family over there. And I don't get to see them, but I do get to call them. But it's not the same.
Oh.
It's not the same. And they're her daughters. They're, you know, the same family. And it's because my grandma's house, my mom's side, they're like 10, 15 minutes walking away from our house. And we used to spend like all of our days over there. And so,
I love that.
Yeah. And so they're like that part of the link that's missing right now for my family. And like, I've got a family all over the world. Yeah. But some family doesn't feel like family, you know, like you're related, but you're not given that sense of connection. I've got uncles that are in France that I can do without seeing or calling. But my aunties that are in Iraq, I can't go without calling them. But then you have to like see them, not only call them, because physical connection is important, like, you know. But yeah, it was my grandma.
How did that impact you?
My grandma.
Yeah.
Well, I was young. I was 13 and I cried a lot. But I guess it made me a little bit stronger because she was one of the only grandparents that I had that connection with. My dad's parents, they were in northern parts of Iraq, so I wouldn't see them that much. So I didn't have that connection to them, even though they were loving, they were great.
Of course.
Her husband, my granddad, I never get to see because he died a few months before I was born, like 10 maybe, yeah, like 10, 8, 9 months before I was born.
Mm.
He passed away. And so that's kind of like the thing that I always have an issue with.
Right.
The fact that my granddad, everyone got to see and meet,
But you didn't.
but I didn't, and I get to hear stories about him,
Mm.
especially with how often they tell me that I look and act and behave like him.
Really?
So when they talk about it, they go, "Oh, you're just like our grandpa." Okay, cool, but I never met him. It was kind of annoying, but it's
hard.
cool that these people get to see him in me, right? But I'm not exactly him, but they get to see that too.
Yeah.
I think it made me a little bit stronger
Well, you are his legacy.
in a way,
And then you are your grandmother's legacy.
in a way. But yeah,
Mm.
my grandma.
Why did that come up out of everything else?
I don't know. It's probably because I felt the most sad, I think. The most sadness I felt. Because as a child, your feelings are raw.
Mhm.
You don't really
Use
get
logic.
you don't get yeah.
You just feel how you feel.
No. And it's not like I didn't have anyone else in the family pass away after. Like my other grandparents passed away and I didn't feel the same, sadness when they passed away. It just didn't hit the same because I wasn't as close. But with my grandma, that happened, and it was like my first shock,
Right.
pretty much. It was my first shock because I was 13 and I didn't really have any family members pass away, and she was like the first close one to, leave. And so that was a shock for me. And at that day, it was like, oh, shit, my family, my people could actually go anytime. But she wasn't like that. She was sick, but she wasn't sick to death, right? She was taking her medications or whatnot. She was old. She was in her 70s, I would say 80s maybe. But it wasn't predicted. She didn't die in a hospital or something. She just died. One day they called us. She's dead. I was like, oh, crap.
Wow.
Yeah. And that goes back to my brother too, because he's the one that helped me go through it.
Yeah.
He's the one that was there. He's the one that, I needed a shoulder to cry on, and he was there. And he dealt with it pretty good. I mean, he's 4 years older, so he's like, 16, 17? And for a 16, 17-year-old, you don't expect him to deal with such a situation that well, but he did.
Yeah.
Would you like some water?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
A little bit. So you don't expect him to deal with it that well, but he did. Right?
I reckon he was also strong for you.
Yeah.
Not
You
just
need
for
that.
himself.
You need that.
Yeah.
And you need people to be strong in face of situations like these. I don't know if you can call them adversaries.
You can.
Mm.
I mean, there's not a specific label of like, on a scale of 1 to 10, does this qualify?
Yeah.
It's how it impacts you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've read somewhere, and I always keep that in the back of my head with how I deal with deaths. And it's a quote that I heard from Jordan Peterson. He always talks about how you need to be the strongest person at your dad's funeral.
I've heard that. Yes.
And it makes so much sense.
Yes.
It makes so much sense because
I actually hear that a lot.
Yeah. It's not just that. It's not just a funeral that you're going to deal with. It's the precautions. It's everyone around you. It's you taking responsibility.
You have to be the strongest person at your dad's
funeral. Yeah.
That's a reality check and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they are going to die and you're going to be there for it. And you got to
Don't like to think about this.
No, it's terrible. No.
But yeah.
I used to get nightmares thinking about it. Like sometimes
I had a period where I was like, there's no point in my life where I would be prepared.
Yeah.
Like there's no point.
Yeah.
And hopefully, hopefully some people don't need to deal with it.
Actually, that's arguably worse. If you don't get to deal with it.
Why is that?
Because if you don't deal with it, that means that they do get to deal with it.
Yeah, see the whole selfish. Is it selfish?
Is it selfish or
If
is
you
it
go
not?
first.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm choosing.
You don't. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
It's like, God said that's it.
Yeah.
It's not really my doing.
No. But I genuinely feel bad for people that do lose children because it is harder. I'm not a father, and I know for a fact that it is harder because the natural order of things is you're born, these people are there. Right. And you're younger, they're older, they're progressing through time differently. They're going to end up dying probably more likely before you.
Right.
For them, it's the other way around.
They saw you come into the world.
It's unnatural.
Yeah.
It's like they put you in this earth and this earth took you right back.
Yeah.
they will never accept it. They can never deal with it. And so I think it's harder
I
for them.
can't imagine, the loss of a child for a parent.
I've seen it.
I have to. Yeah.
I've seen it, and I've seen people deal with it,
It's devastating.
and I've seen people
Don't.
deal with it, and it's terrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Especially when they don't. It's they start not only damaging themselves,
Others around
them, and they sabotage everything in their life, and life goes from bad to way worse and way worse.
Yeah.
As if the death of a child wasn't bad. It can go terrible places. So yeah. But with that being said,
How did you bounce back from that heartbreak?
I guess I just moved on. I kept her as a memory, you know. It's not like, because there was always, I'll tell you something. My grandparents' house is pretty big, right? And just like any other grandparents' house, you know, they have the, you know,
They're the
haditha,
grandparents.
They're
you
the
know?
grandparents.
Yeah.
We used to go there, play football, and they had the little field, like the garden. We used to play in the garden, me and my brother, ball all the time, football. And one day we're playing, that's after she passed. And when we used to play, before she died, there used to be this one pigeon hanging around.
This one pigeon.
There's one pigeon hanging around every time we play. And we'd like, I remember it because we'd make jokes about it, like, oh, I'm going to shoot the pigeon, watch. Yeah. After she died, one day we're playing and the pigeon was flying with another pigeon. And we're playing and my brother looked at it. He looked at me and he goes, well, there goes your grandparents. I know. And he meant it. He didn't say it in a sarcastic way.
Yeah.
And I remember it to this day. And he was talking and he goes, well, you know, they're still around.
Yeah.
Right?
They're watching over you.
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah. And that gave me comfort. And from that comfort, I got to deal with it better. But now, you know, every time I remember it, I remember her, you know, as a person. And also I keep seeing that pigeon flying around, that, you know, that bird, that white bird.
You're keeping her alive.
You have to.
Yeah.
Every time I play cards, every time I play Ludo, because she kind of embedded those traditions as hers in my head. Those activities, they belong to our time together.
Yeah.
And you just can't get it out of your head. And that's how I got around it as a, you know, that's how I accepted it as a child. But now, you know, you mature, you think about it differently. And now you think about it, well, you know, she was an old lady, her time came, she was a good lady, she gave you good times as a grandmother. And what would she think about you if she was alive today?
Mm.
That's kind of what keeps me going sometimes.
You can honor her in your life.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Mm.
I'm glad I asked, even if that made you uncomfortable at first.
No, it's because I've never talked about it.
Yeah.
I've never talked about anyone.
Wow.
About this to anyone. Because you don't really, no one asks about your grandma, to be honest, or your biggest heartbreak. And I never knew that this was my biggest heartbreak. Well,
Until the 10-second rule. That reveals a lot.
That does
it?
reveal a lot. It's very interesting.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like what we were talking about. People are going to pass away. Hopefully, you know,
Not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
But when they do pass away, what are you going to do? And in psychology, Freud talked about it as your dad passing away. He said, you don't become a man as a man. You don't become a man until your father passes away.
Wow.
And he meant it.
As a loss of innocence or the strength?
The strength.
Mm.
Because you can lose your innocence pretty young.
You can.
You
There's
can.
a lot of things in life that can
You can
make
lose
you
it
lose
pretty
your
early on.
innocence. Yeah.
But he meant it literally. Like your father has to pass away and then you become a man. Carl Jung argued it. He said, you don't really have to lose him physically. You can lose him metaphorically. And so if you manage to kill your father, that's probably the best way for you to become a man.
How do you do that metaphorically?
Well, think about it. Your dad is always the head of the family.
Mm.
He's always going to be at the top of the pyramid.
Mm.
If you want to become the top of the pyramid, you gotta, you know, it's like you're the prince and he's a king. If you want to become the new king, you gotta kill the old king, right? And that's what happens with the story of Horus, except it's not his son that kills him, it's his brother, right? He wants to become the king, he kills Osiris. So how do you get yourself to be the person that everyone relies on? How do you get to be the person that everyone looks up to? How do you get the person that keeps dominance, that keeps order?
Do you think that's
that keeps-
necessary?
Of course.
Okay.
As a man or a woman, I think.
Are you talking in terms of your own life? Or are you talking... Because I understand that you need to be in the driver's seat for your own life. And nobody else could be on top of that. But in general, I don't think you need to overtake anyone's place. Unless it's your own life.
I think in any given society structure, whether it's family, friends, or co-workers, there's always a hierarchy. There's always that pyramid. And people shift. Some people can be at the top, some people can be at the bottom, and they shift. They work their way up, they go their way down. Even in the family, you don't want to do it wrong because, excuse me, some people would do it mindlessly. They would look at their parents and they think about them as outdated. They think about them as tired. They think about them as not good enough anymore. And they go, oh, well, my parents know no better, so I'm just going to do what I think is best. You don't want to do that. They're there for a reason. But it's how do I get to their level in my own hierarchy, right? Because...
And what's your own hierarchy?
Your family, your friends, yourself.
Do you think there's a hierarchy in friends, or is it more of... Because I genuinely believe you become who you surround yourself with. So I think everybody's influential. I don't think there's just like a wolf pack and like a leader. I think it's you're almost like a team with your friends.
Yeah, I think there is. There's definitely is. There is that pyramid. But the idea is good friends keep shifting around.
Yeah.
They don't
Maybe
keep
in
one...
toxic friendships, there is a pyramid.
There is a...
Yeah.
No, there is a bit. There's always a pyramid. But with toxic friendships, this pyramid doesn't change.
Or there is resistance.
There is resistance,
for
exactly.
any change.
Yeah. So like if you want to uplift people with you, they might not be, as accepting to it, and they just want to stay at the bottom. But good friendships always try to shift that pyramid. And the way they try to shift it is, one, they want to put themselves at the top, but also they want
everybody around them to succeed.
Yeah, they want you to be at the top as well.
Yeah.
And so it keeps shifting. It's still a pyramid. The pyramid doesn't change, but what's happening inside the pyramid keeps shifting.
Yeah.
One person could be there, one person could be there, one person could be there, and they keep shifting between them. And that's what good, deep, meaningful friendships are all about.
Yeah.
And that's how you differentiate people that are around you. And then if you get to a point where you're just dominating all the time and you're at the top, that means that this friendship is probably not good enough for you. Or, if
you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You don't want to be...
You don't want to be the most skilled. You don't want to be the...
Yeah. You always got to strive for more.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean...
it doesn't mean abandoning those circles, but it just means like seeking.
Well, at some point you will have to abandon.
Sometimes you can outgrow.
You outgrow it.
If you're not moving in the same direction in life,
you have to make the hard decision. Sometimes you have to. And if you're trying consciously and meaningfully and with all your heart to get these people on the same mindset and journey, and they're just not,
but they just don't
want it, then that's fine. You gotta learn how to...
But if you stay there, you're gonna be dragged down.
Absolutely.
So that's a pinnacle. Yeah, that's a pinnacle moment in your life.
Yeah. And it's very hard because
sometimes you've known these people for a very long time.
Yeah, and you could think of yourself as a worse person for doing it, but are you? And maybe you are, but sometimes you do need to be that horrible person. It's like,
Are you? Does that make you a horrible person?
It doesn't make you... Yeah, actually, it's like this. It's like, you could be a monster, right? You could be a monster, and you could end friendships, you could end relationships, you could end family relationships, right? And then you ask yourself, well, what kind of monster are you? And then the answer could probably be the monster that you need to be in order to not be that monster. Because even though some things are horrible, you need to have the will to do it. It could be, some people have some terrible mothers, right? Some people have some really unloving, uncaring mothers. I know for myself, I'm very glad and proud to have a very loving mother. Exactly. Yeah. And I know for a fact some people don't have that.
Some people don't even have a mother.
Some people don't even have a mother.
Yeah.
And some people could get sucked into letting these unqualified people to be parents.
But it doesn't make you a monster for distancing yourself from what's not serving you.
Oh, well.
Because the end goal is to be a version of yourself that can help other people. And that can actually help you in life. You're far more useful to other people if you work on that version of yourself than if you stay there.
Okay. But what if your mother had your best interests in mind?
From her perspective.
From her perspective.
Yeah.
But you don't share the same idea. What are you doing then?
You don't have to cut off the relationship.
No, you don't have to cut off the relationship, no.
But you can build enough distance where, or not necessarily distance, but you can build enough reliance on your own idea for what you want. And you don't have to, you can listen to advice, but you don't have to go that way. You're allowed to do things on your terms.
But you need the courage to stand up and say no.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah.
And just because,
which is where your other circles come in.
Yeah.
Which is where, your self-esteem comes in, which is where a lot of things come in. But you can't have one person dictating your whole life.
No. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, even though they're your parents and your family and friends, and they, as much as they love you and want your best interest, they don't know it.
They want your best interest from their perspective.
Their perspective, exactly. And you're always...
That's not necessarily your best interest.
You almost always know what's your best interest, even though sometimes you could be willfully blind to it. You can't lie to yourself that much.
Yeah. No. There's too many years with yourself that, like, one night you'd be just up and you're like, huh. Like, yeah. There's way too much time spent with yourself to be living in a lie. So.
Well, some people do it. Some people live their entire lives lying, and not just to other people, to themselves, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Because you can't lie to other people unless you lie to yourself first.
Yeah.
Because you have to believe it.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But it gets burdensome.
Does it?
I don't know. I call myself out on the lies. I haven't tried living with them. It would get burdensome. Or at least to a point where you would completely be numb to it.
You're not numb. You're just...
You're numb. You don't see it as a problem anymore.
You don't see it as a problem, exactly.
That's numb.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, that's like being desensitized to the issue.
Yeah. So basically delusional, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like some people can twist and bend truth their own way until they're
justify it.
Yeah. And you have to justify it. And some people are very good at it.
Well, that's the reason. If they don't justify it, then they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
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 So let's just put a Band-Aid on it and call it a day and close the book and not think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you lie?
I'm not an advocate for lying. So
put that on record.
I always there's a difference between having been put in situations where you would lie and being like a liar. That can actually be a personality trait or characteristic. And I've definitely if I sit here and I be like, I have never lied, that would just be another lie. Okay. This is honest. But the difference is sometimes you're put in situations or in tough decisions where you would have to lie. For example, like to not hurt somebody's feelings, to soften a blow, if there's a very sensitive, or something anonymous or something you'll sworn to secrecy, or sometimes you can find yourself in a tricky situation. But to be a chronic liar or like as a personality trait is just lying about everything. Lying to yourself, like almost lying for the sake of it at sometimes.
Oh yeah.
To the point where like you don't do confrontation at all. So it becomes like your go-to method of like, I'll just lie about it so I don't deal with the problem. That's the difference.
Even if you get confronted, they still lie.
Yeah.
Because
The
what's
motto
a lie?
is to keep lying yourself out of it.
Yeah, but it's not a lie anymore.
Yeah.
It's the new reality. It's just bent and twisted in a way that it's reality now.
Yeah.
And they live it.
Well, you can really it would be hard to keep up your lies.
Oh.
You get busted.
You
That's
do.
a lot
You
of,
do.
there's a trail.
You do get busted.
You
Almost always at the end.
Yeah.
Like you can keep going for as long as you want.
Yeah.
At some point you will get busted for
It'll
it.
get heavy.
And if
Because they're like, what did I say to this person? Did I keep up the story? It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much to deal with. I couldn't do it.
What's the biggest lie you've ever told?
Oh, I thought the last question. The biggest lie I've ever told. The biggest lie was to myself, really. And I told myself that I could just get a career in, at that time, architecture, and that it was close enough to art and that I would be happy. And it's, how like people are like, oh, it's remotely close enough to drawing, because they don't see like painting and drawing as like the real thing, or as a job. They'll be like, architecture is close enough. You're still drawing shapes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like you're actually, doing the corporate ladder thing. And I'm like, that was not close enough for me. That's not even the same. That's not remotely, like they cross over, but it's not the same thing.
No, I understand.
So yeah, I honestly wasn't gonna, like for a long time, I wasn't gonna pursue murals or painting as a career, even though I knew that that's what I should be doing.
But you did.
Up until that meeting that I had with the artist, I wasn't. I was going a completely different direction with my life.
Are you glad that you did? You thankful?
I'm so glad. Because I would have ended up here anyway, just a lot later. Maybe with more regrets. Like later in life.
As a better version, or maybe as a too late version?
I don't believe in too late while you're still here. I definitely believe in a delayed version. And I would probably be like, oh, you could have done so much if you had just started then. As opposed to now. Not that it would have stopped me, but it would have definitely impacted me. Yeah. And it's like, now is the best time to start because you literally have everything to gain. This is the time where you take risks with podcasts, with content creation, with career, with everything. This is like the perfect time.
If this was your last 40 seconds to 1 minute on Earth.
Oh, God. Okay.
Right. What would your message be? What would you want to say if this was your last 40 seconds ever? And I want you to look at the camera and say it.
Ooh. Oh, God. Like a message or?
Just whatever.
Okay. I'd honestly leave a message to all the confused versions of myself that were like, is this the right path or not? And I would say you did the right thing by staying on your path and not giving into struggle. Yeah. Believing in your dream. I'd say that. Yeah. And I'll also be like, P.S. I wish you had more time, but...
Well, let's hope. You do have more time.
Yeah, I know.
We don't hold people hostages. We let them go usually out of the show.
I'm glad to hear that.
Now you'll figure out.
No skydiving or like, I won't find myself on a plane.
No, the elevator works. It doesn't stop.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's what I would say in that moment. I'm sure like other things come to mind, but in this moment, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
Would you write it up or would you just wing it? You have your grandchildren surrounding you.
I just wing it.
You just wing it?
I just wing it.
Yeah.
When you wing it, it's more authentic that way. When you're writing it up, it's like you're trying to be political. And you're trying, oh, is this going to offend someone? Wait, let me tweak my message. Just say it.
Would you think it would be different then? Or would you carry on the same message?
It would be how I feel. So regardless if it's the same or different, it would be true to something, not just how I feel, but something I'm actually doing in my life.
No, that's true.
Yeah. I'm not an advocate for not practicing what you preach. So, yeah.
No, that's understandable.
Yeah.
But hey, man, Dina Gris, it's been a long journey, but you still have a lot more.
Just beginning.
I genuinely can't wait to see the rest of the story.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see where you guys go with this.
Oh, well, back home with the,
Yeah.
Oh, no, the equipment, sorry. The podcast will go a lot.
It will go on.
Thank you, Aksan. Thank you, Spectrum, for the space. And thank you, Dina. It was very good.
Thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Take care.